Chapter 1564 1564 Saint of Light 3. What happened? The Crown Prince of Wuqing City has been invaded by the soul of darkness. Gather all our priests to deal with it. What do you mean the Crown Prince has been invaded by the soul of darkness? In front of the palace of Wuji Dynasty, priests quickly rushed over. In less than 10 minutes, thousands of priests of light arrived. There were void interpretation level priests and transcendents. They were all discussing in shock. All radiant priests, come over and see how our Crown Prince's situation should be resolved. A middle-aged man looked at the radiant priest who had rushed over and said in a deep voice, "Yes, yes." The radiant priest who had rushed over quickly walked over with the respectful expression. "Among you, if anyone can cure Qing City, what do you want? What will our Wuji Empire give you?" At this moment, the bald black-eyed elder standing in the middle said in a deep voice with an expressionless face, I don't dare. This lowly one will definitely give it my all." When all the radiant priests heard the bald black-eyed elder's words, their pupils constricted slightly and their breathing quickened as they hurriedly said loudly, "Let me take a look." The Divine Light Medical Hall's hall master immediately walked over and arrived in front of the Wuqing City's Crown Prince. An invasion of darkness souls. When he walked over, he was instantly shocked, and his expression became solemn. A 6th-level void interpretation darkness soul, and there are actually more than 10 of them entering his body, hiss. He walked to the side of Wuqing City, and even before he started examining, he could already sense the tyrannical darkness souls in his body. This caused his expression to become extremely grave. His strength was only at level 6 of the profound void tier. Even if a single darkness soul entered his body, he wouldn't be able to deal with it, much less when more than a dozen darkness souls were entangled together. What? More than a dozen level 6 of the profound void tier darkness souls entered his body. When the surrounding light priests heard Divine Light Hall Master's words, their faces revealed embarrassed expressions. No wonder even the Wuji Dynasty's patriarch couldn't treat the Crown Prince's injuries. No wonder the Wuji Dynasty would call all the radiant priests over and promise to give whatever they wanted to anyone who could heal them. All of the radiant priests had extremely embarrassed looks on their faces. Even the Divine Light Hall Master stood there, unable to make a move. This was simply not something he could solve. When the Wuji Dynasty's patriarch and the others saw that all the radiant priests were helpless, their expressions became slightly awkward. "My lords of the Wuji Dynasty, all the radiant priests of our Divine Light Dynasty have arrived." At this moment, another group of people rushed over quickly. The leader was the Emperor of the Divine Light Dynasty. He did not dare to be the slightest bit negligent. When he saw the bald black-eyed elder, his face became even more respectful. "My lord, our forefather is coming from the Divine Light Empire right now," he reported to the bald, black-eyed elder. "Yes, I know. I'll have to trouble you. If your Divine Light Empire can cure Qing City, our Wuji Empire will definitely give you a satisfactory reward," the black-eyed elder said directly. Yes. The king of the Divine Light Empire's eyes lit up, and he looked behind him. The priests of the Divine Light Empire immediately walked over. Among them were 2 radiant priests at the 7th level of the Insight Void tier. Princess Qingyan, the Crown Prince of Wuqing City is. The son of Light Tian Qingguang looked at the experts of the Empire as they walked over. He walked to the side of Princess Wu Qingyan and asked softly, "More than 10 6th-level Insight Void tier darkness souls have entered the body." Wu Qingyan said anxiously as she kept looking at her brother. "What?" Tian Qingguang was slightly shocked. Even if a transcendent-level darkness soul entered the body, it would still require a powerful radiant priest to be able to deal with it. A 6th-level void interpretation. His expression was slightly solemn. As a child of light, even though he was called trash by Priest Wang, he still had some strength. He knew the severity of the darkness soul entering the body. Among the 100 people who have been entered by the darkness soul, not one of them will be able to recover. With the help of the experts from the Divine Light Dynasty, they should be able to get rid of the darkness soul. At the rear, all the light priests from the ruins of the Divine Kingdom rushed over. When they learned of the injuries of the Crown Prince of Wuching City, they were all extremely solemn. More than a dozen darkness souls entered the Crown Prince's body without the slightest damage. Their intelligence did not suffer the slightest damage. This is troublesome. That's right. With our strength, it would be extremely difficult for us to face a level 6 insightful void tier darkness soul one-on-one. At this moment, the two level 7 insightful void tier light priests who were examining Wuching City's body had slightly embarrassed expressions. The radiant priest's combat strength was very weak to begin with, and they wanted to understand these darkness souls. This was equivalent to fighting with the darkness souls in Wu Qingcheng's body. They could not destroy the darkness souls without harming Wu Qingcheng. If you need any treasures to assist you, feel free to say it. The people from Wuji Dynasty who were standing to the side saw their solemn expressions, and their expressions did not look good as they directly said this. The two insightful Void Tier 7 Radiant Priests took a deep breath and bowed. We are helpless. The Crown Prince's dark souls are too complete. There are more than 10 of them. We can't do anything about it. Maybe our Morning Light forefather has a way. We are really ashamed. The two bowed and shook their heads. This made the faces of the people of Wuji Empire turn ugly. If any of you have the special effect of the folk prescription, as long as it is beneficial to Qing City, tell us and Wuji Empire will not mistreat you. The old man holding the dark staff glanced at the thousands of light priests and said in a deep voice. No one said anything. No one was confident. Old Hu, you seem to have told me that Priest Wang once saved a young man who was invaded by the soul of darkness. Among the priests of light, the master of the holy medicine shop asked Old Hu in a low voice. Yes, he saved a young man who was invaded by darkness, but we don't know where Priest Wang is now. Old Hu shook his head bitterly. Buzz. What's going on? Just as the two of them finished speaking, the people in front of them were pushed to the sides by an invisible force. They were slightly shocked and quickly looked forward. The priests of light who had been moved away were also shocked. You said that someone treated a young man who was invaded by darkness? Where is that person? In front of them, more than a dozen people opened a path. What they saw was the dignified gaze of the bald black-eyed elder. Cold sweat appeared on the foreheads of the hall master and Old Hu. Reporting to my lord, our medical hall once had a mysterious priest Wang who cured a young man, but we don't know where this priest Wang is now. The Sacred Medicine Hall's hall master and Old Hu knelt on the ground in panic and said directly, Priest Wang. That arrogant fellow? Chapter 1565 1565 Saint of Light 4. Priest Wang. When the owner of the holy medicine shop said these three words, the people around were stunned. The name of Priest Wang was like thunder to all the priests of light and even some of the youths in the vast area. He publicly insulted the Son of Light as trash and threw him down from the 4th floor. Furthermore, he even said that the Daughter of Light was trash. Other than that, what shocked everyone the most was that Priest Wang had humiliated two heaven's favorites from the solipsistic sect. He injured them on the spot. Everyone knew the arrogance and strength that he displayed. What level of darkness soul had invaded the youth that Priest Wang was healing? The bald black-eyed elder heard the shock and discussion of the people around him and slightly raised his eyebrows. Reporting to my lord, it should be around rank 1 or rank 2 of the void interpretation. Old Hu did not dare to hide anything and hurriedly replied. When the bald black-eyed elder heard his reply, he slowly frowned. Clearly, he was somewhat disappointed. Invaded by a rank 1 or rank 2 darkness soul, we also have the strength to heal it. That's right, it's not too difficult to get rid of the soul of darkness that has entered us. Some of the priests who had entered the 6th rank of the profound void sect heard this and said calmly, that guy has offended two heaven's favorites from the only sect in the sky and earth. He might have already been killed in the dark. When Tian Qingguang heard this name, he said with a malevolent expression. Towards that fellow who dared to insult him, he wanted nothing more than to tear him into pieces. A youth who can only heal a rank 1 or rank 2 darkness soul is completely useless. Let's wait for our Dawn Light ancestor to arrive first. A Divine Light Dynasty rank 7 darkness soul priest said. All the surrounding light priests nodded in agreement. The Morning Light ancestor could be called the ancestor of the entire world of light priests. The profession of light priest wasn't born for a long time. The one who developed it and continued to develop it was the Divine Light Dynasty's Morning Light ancestor. No one could object to him saying that he was the number 1 person in the world of Lightwood. Ancestor, grandfather, we can find that priest Wang to give it a try. At this moment, Wu Qingyan and Wu Qingyan looked at each other. After hesitating for a moment, they said to the bald elder with black eyes and the elder holding the dark scepter. Huh? The elder holding the dark scepter looked at the two of them with a trace of curiosity. When Tian Qingguang heard this, his expression changed slightly. Princess Qingyan, that priest Wang has already disappeared. I guess he has already been destroyed. Where can we find a dead person? He said with an ugly expression. Impossible. With the strength of the 2 heavens favorites of our sect in heaven and earth, it's impossible to kill him. Wu Qingyan shook her head with certainty. Oh, Qingyan? That priest Wang is very powerful? An elder of Wuji Empire looked at Wu Qingyan and asked. Very powerful. My brother and I have investigated his information. His level is the same as my uncle's. He's not even 30 years old. Under his push, the Luhai region was unified. As soon as he arrived in the vast region, he directly destroyed the second-rate force, Atlas Sword Sect. This person is very mysterious. His control over the light is very abnormal. As long as our sect doesn't send a level 8 profound void martial expert, it will be very difficult to kill him. Wu Qingyan said to the elders and experts of the Wuji Empire with a grave expression. What? However, Wu Qingyan's 2 words caused the middle-aged man who asked earlier to reveal a shocked expression. The surrounding experts from the Wuji Empire were all shocked. Even the eyes of the bald-headed black-eyed elder narrowed slightly. His eyes were filled with shocks. A rank 7 profound void martial expert who was not even 30 years old. This was simply shocking news. Wu Qingqing, an outstanding disciple of the Wuji imperial family that they had met 5,000 years ago, was currently in his 50s and was only at the peak of rank 3 profound void martial. Now, such a monstrous existence had appeared. How? How is this possible? The surrounding radiant priests revealed expressions of disbelief. 7th level of the profound void martial stage, he's actually at the 7th level of the profound void martial stage. Tian Qingguang's gaze was dazed, his gaze somewhat absent-minded. 7th level of the profound void martial stage, this was the 7th level of the profound void martial stage. His father, the current emperor of the Divine Light Empire, was only at the 7th level of the profound void martial stage. However, that young man had actually reached the 7th level of the insightful void realm. No wonder he dared to say that Wu Qingyan was trash. He dared not give face to the 2 heavens favorites of the only sect. This guy. Tian Qingguang's face was a little twisted. He clenched his fists tightly, full of unwillingness. Qingyan, are you serious? The elder holding the dark staff looked over with a serious face and asked. Grandfather, this is the news that our dynasty's dark mansion received. Wu Qingyan nodded. The eyes of the elder holding the dark staff flickered, filled with astonishment. Qingyan, do you know where that young man is? Call him over. The bald elder with black pupils looked at Wu Qingyan and said directly. I don't know. Wu Qingyan shook her head and frowned. Sister, is he in the He clan? He Yuan of the He clan has a very good relationship with him. Wu Qingyan frowned and asked. I don't know if he is in the He clan, but Ling Jian of the Bingxin dynasty will definitely be able to find him. Wu Qingyan's eyes flickered as she said. That priest Wang came to their vast area for Lingjian so Lingjian should know where he is. Send someone to the He clan and invite the He clan's people over. Also, go to the Bingxin dynasty and invite that Lingjian over. The bald, black-eyed elder directly ordered. Yes, Patriarch. Several experts from the Wuji dynasty immediately nodded and quickly flew towards the He clan and Bingxin dynasty. Ah! Right at this moment, Wuqing City's miserable cries continued to ring out. His face was as malevolent as a devil, and he looked abnormally terrifying. Everyone from Wuji Empire hurriedly looked over, their faces filled with sighs and helplessness. When our morning light ancestor arrives, he will definitely expel the darkness soul from the body of Wuqing City's crown prince. That's right, our morning light ancestor is the #1 radiant priest. Although that radiant priest Wang's talent is monstrous, his true strength is still far from our ancestors. The people of Bingxin dynasty glanced at the radiant priests who were still in shock and said with a slightly embarrassed expression, "That's right. Although that priest Wang is extraordinary, his strength is still far from our forefathers." Tian Qingguang gritted his teeth and said with a firm gaze, "Buzz. Lord Dark Pupil, Dawn Light has come to pay his respects." At this moment, an elder who was surrounded by milky white light flew over from the horizon. It was as if he had descended from the sky. A gentle voice spread across the entire front of the palace. The elder had a head full of white hair, beard, and brows. He was shrouded in light and looked divine and dignified. He held a white horsetail whisk in his hand and flew in front of the black-eyed bald elder from the Wuji Empire. He called out respectfully. Chapter 1566. 1566 1566 Sages of Light 5. Greetings, Morning Light Patriarch. The radiant priest of the Divine Light Dynasty, Morning Light Patriarch, arrived. He bowed respectfully to the bald black-eyed elder, while the rest of the radiant priests bowed respectfully to Morning Light Patriarch. As an existence like the Patriarch of the radiant priest world, all the radiant priests had to bow when they saw him. Morning Light? Your strength has improved quite a bit again? Dark Eye Patriarch sized up Morning Light with his abyss-like eyes, and a trace of surprise appeared on his face. It's my lord. He has improved a bit, reaching the peak of the 8th level of the profound void tier. Morning Light Patriarch smiled. Master, quickly look at my brother. He has been possessed by the soul of darkness. Wu Qingyan hurried over when she saw the old man. She said anxiously, Don't worry, Qingyan. Master will do everything he can to cure the crown prince of Wuqing City. Forefather of Dawn Light said with determination in his eyes. Because of Wu Qingyan, the relationship between Divine Light Empire and Wuji Empire was pretty good. This time, if he could cure the crown prince of Wuqing City, his relationship with Wuji Empire would be closer. At that time, as long as Wuji Empire was around, his Divine Light Empire would not suffer a destructive disaster. Brother Chengwang, quickly take a look at Qing City. The elder holding the dark staff hurriedly indicated. Yes. Chengwang forefather respectfully nodded at him and immediately walked to the side of Wuqing City. Forefather, the Crown Prince of Wuqing City has more than 10 6th-level void interpretation dark souls entering his body. It's very troublesome. A few experts from the Bingxin dynasty, Tian Qingguang, and the others immediately walked over and whispered. Forefather Chengwang nodded, and his gaze swept over Wuqing City, revealing a trace of solemnity. Forefather, the He clan's people have arrived. Forefather, the Bingxin dynasty's people have arrived. At this moment, two voices came from the side. Behind the two middle-aged men were the He clan and the Bingxin dynasty's people. Even the Bingxin king had rushed over. The experts from the Wuji dynasty called them over, and they didn't dare to be the slightest bit negligent. We pay our respects to Patriarch Dark Eye. Everyone looked at the bald black-eyed elder and felt a chill in their hearts. They immediately bowed respectfully. Patriarch Dark Eye slowly nodded. He clan, do you know where that young man called Priest Wang is located? The elder holding the dark staff looked at the He clan and asked. Ugh. The He clan members were slightly stunned. He Yuan, who was standing beside an elder, was shocked. He hesitated for a moment and took a step forward. Senior, may I know why you are looking for Priest Wang? He Yuan, you don't have to worry. We have no ill intentions. Right now, my brother has been invaded by the soul of darkness. I heard that Priest Wang had cured a young man who had been invaded by darkness, so I brought him here. Wu Qingyan looked at He Yuan and said directly. Reporting to Senior, Princess Qingyan. To be honest, I haven't seen that brother of mine since he left the Crown Prince's mansion in Wuqing City. When He Yuan heard Wu Qingyan's words, he swept his gaze across the room and immediately said, You don't know? You can't find where he lives? Wu Qingyan frowned. He Yuan doesn't dare to hide anything. He Yuan shook his head. Miss Ling Jian, do you know where Priest Wang is currently? Wu Qingyan turned her head and looked towards the location of the Bingxin Empire. Her gaze landed on Ling Jian, who was at the side. Seeing Wu Qingyan's gaze, the Bingxin king was slightly stunned. Princess Qingyan, this adopted daughter of mine is called Bing Jian. I don't think she knows that Priest Wang. He hurriedly replied. Ling Jian also looked at Wu Qingyan with a frown. It was obvious that the words Ling Jian had caused her to be slightly confused. This lady is indeed called Ling Jian. That Priest Wang has been looking for her for a very long time. Miss Ling Jian, do you know where Priest Wang is now? Wu Qingyan looked at Ling Jian and continued to ask. This? Ling Jian felt a little absent-minded as she thought of the statue that was placed at the entrance every day. She felt that the other party might be not far away from her, but she did not know exactly where the other party was. Bing Jinghuan, who was at the side, slightly clenched his fists as he stared at Ling Jian. I don't know where he is either. Ling Jian shook her head. Wu Qingyan frowned when she heard her answer. Qingyan, that Priest Wang came to the vast region from hundreds of thousands of miles away to look for this lady. At this moment, the elder holding the dark scepter asked faintly. Yes, grandfather. I came to look for her. I thought she should know. Wu Qingyan nodded. That's simple. The elder holding the dark scepter nodded and opened his mouth slightly. Priest Wang, this Miss Ling Jian is with us. Please come over. A voice suddenly resounded throughout all the regions of the Kingdom of God ruins. Everyone could hear the elder's words. His words made Ling Jian frown slightly. A simple sentence from the Wuji Empire revealed how overbearing they were. It was very simple to tell Wang Xian that since Ling Jian was with them, it was best for him to come over. Although his tone wasn't too harsh, it was filled with a faint threat. Who is that Priest Wang? However, at this moment, Forefather Cheng Wang, who was standing beside Wuqing City, suddenly raised his eyebrows and asked indifferently. Master, it's a young man with monstrous strength. He has the strength of the 7th level of the profound void martial stage. Wu Qingyan immediately answered. Oh, the cultivation base of the 7th level of the profound void martial stage? Grand Ancestor Chen Guang was slightly surprised. Grand Ancestor, that guy is very arrogant. At that time, not only did he say that the Son of Light is trash, but he also said that the Daughter of Light of Princess Qingyan is trash. He is very arrogant. Tian Qingguang, who was at the side, immediately said with an embarrassed expression. Oh, he actually called Qingyan and Qingguang trash? I want to see how capable he is. The Chengguang patriarch slightly narrowed his eyes and said indifferently, Master, he is indeed powerful. Wu Qingyan glanced at Tian Qingguang and said indifferently, even if he is powerful, he doesn't have the right to call me Chengguang's beloved disciple. Forefather of the Morning Light stroked Wu Qingyan's head and said coldly, That's true. That fellow is indeed a little arrogant. Wu Qingyan smiled at her master. She called Wang Xian over because she wanted to give it a try. In her heart, the most powerful radiant priest was her master. At this moment, Wang Xian, who was sitting cross-legged in the room to balance the light and darkness, opened his eyes when he heard this voice. A hint of coldness flashed across his eyes. "Why are you looking for me?" Wang Xian frowned slightly. However, he did not hesitate. He stood up immediately and flew towards the front of the Wuji Empire's palace. "Dragon King, the Dragon Queen was called over by the Wuji Empire to look for you. She probably wants you to save their crown prince." Ao Yao's voice was heard when Wang Xian entered the Wuji Empire's area. He nodded his head slowly and looked at the place where the radiant priests were gathered. "All the powerhouses of Wuji Empire, your invitation is really something new." Chapter 1567. 1567 Saint of Light 6. Experts from Wuji Empire, your invitation is really something new. Wang Xian's voice covered the front of Wuji Empire's palace. When Wuji Empire and all the priests heard this voice, everyone was stunned. The voice was so arrogant. This short sentence carried a hint of mockery. This priest Wang actually dared to mock the Wuji Empire. Everyone looked towards the sky at the same time. It was a plain figure. He didn't have a dazzling brilliance, nor did he have a powerful aura. He was dressed in pure white and was walking towards them slowly. There wasn't a hint of fear, respect in his eyes. "He Yuan, this brother of yours is really..." The old man standing beside He Yuan looked at Wang Xian's figure and whispered to He Yuan in a speechless manner. His eyes sparkled and were filled with shock. This young man? No, this sky demon really didn't put anyone in his eyes. He Yuan looked at Wang Xian with a pained expression. He already had a slight understanding of this brother of his. He was a pushover. When he was tough, he didn't care whether he was from the solipsistic sect or the Wuji Empire. This was especially the case when the Sky Demon killed 25 powerhouses at the 7th level of the See-Through Realm not long ago. With such terrifying combat strength, this brother of his had already reached the 8th level of the See-Through Realm. It was shocking. When the entire He clan heard this news, everyone was shocked beyond words. It was the 8th level of the See-Through Void tier. It was comparable to the top-notch combat strength of the He clan. Even the ancestor of the He clan felt a little dazed. Ling Jian saw that Wang Xian rushed over just because a powerhouse from the Wuji Empire shouted his name. His face was filled with a strange expression. A special emotion was born in her heart. This kind of emotion was something she had never experienced before. Impudent. Wuji Empire had ordered all the radiant priests to come over just now. Why didn't you come? Do you know your crime? Tian Qingwang's eyes were filled with anger when he saw Wang Xian. He shouted with a cold face. Arrogant and arrogant. Why aren't you here to apologize? The head of the Divine Light Medical Center also looked at Wang Xian and shouted in a deep voice. The group of experts from the Wuji Empire also raised their eyebrows and stared at Wang Xian. A faint murderous aura emanated from the few experts. In the vast region, no one dared to ignore the Wuji Empire, not even the other two superpowers. Wang Xian glanced at the two clowns who spoke. He looked at He Yuan and nodded at him faintly. Finally, his gaze landed on Ling Jian and he smiled at her. Hey, arrogant fellow. I told you to come over and take a look at my brother's injuries. Don't be too arrogant. Wu Qingyan's face turned a little dark when she saw Wang Xian's attitude. She shouted directly. Has the crown prince of Wuqing City been possessed by the soul of darkness? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and swept his gaze across the experts of Wuji Empire. His gaze landed on the bald elder with black eyes in the middle. His eyes revealed a solemn look. With his current strength, although he had made a breakthrough, he was still far from being able to contend against such an existence. At most, he would be able to survive in the hands of this elder. Of course, being able to survive was already a very good thing. This was also the reason why Wang Xian dared to mock the Wuji Empire. Because he wasn't afraid. Senior, let me take a look at the injuries of the Crown Prince of Wuqing City. Not being afraid didn't mean that he could provoke the Wuji Empire. Wang Xian cupped his hands and said to Patriarch of Dark Eye, "Young man, if you have the strength, you have the capital. However, you have to keep a low profile sometimes." Patriarch of Dark Eye reminded Wang Xian indifferently. "I understand." Wang Xian cupped his hands and nodded. "I will do my best." "All right. If you can cure Qing City, we will try our best to satisfy you." Patriarch of Dark Eye said to Wang Xian calmly. When Wang Xian heard his words, a glint flashed across his eyes. His heart skipped a beat. "Thank you, Senior. Let me take a look at the situation of the Crown Prince of Wuqing City first." Wang Xian nodded his head and walked towards Wuqing City immediately. "Young man, you are indeed arrogant. However, you must have a certain attitude when it comes to your strength. You must understand the importance of respect and inferiority." As Wang Xian approached, Patriarch of Dawn Light, who was standing beside the Crown Prince of Wuqing City, shot a glance at Wang Xian and warned him in a lecturing manner. "This old man is right. Strength is not related to age." Wang Xian looked at Patriarch of Dawn Light indifferently and said with a smile, "Umph." When Forefather Chengwang heard Wang Xian's sarcastic words, his eyes revealed a hint of coldness. "I was the one who opened up the path of the Radiant Priest. Junior, you should know how to be grateful. You don't know respect and inferiority, and you don't know how to be grateful." Tian Qingguang spat out coldly from the side. "You don't have the right to speak in front of me." Wang Xian glanced at Tian Qingguang and didn't take him seriously at all. Upon hearing his words, Tian Qingguang almost exploded in anger. His eyes were filled with fury. "I'm the daughter of light and the son of light. I don't know what qualifications you have to call them trash. Today, after I treat the Crown Prince of Wuqing City, I need you to give me an explanation. Otherwise..." Forefather Chengwang stared at Wang Xian and narrowed his eyes slightly. "Let's wait and see." When Wang Xian heard his words, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. His pair of eyes looked at the floating Wuqing City in the void. "You have the same cultivation level as us. I don't know how you have the courage to be so arrogant. I called you over just for a glimmer of hope. Do you really think that you can be compared to our patriarch?" Hee, what a sad, laughable, and lamentable story. When the radiant priests behind Forefather Chengwang heard his words, they stared at him coldly. Behind him, the radiant priests also stared at Wang Xian coldly and mocked him in a low voice. Even Wu Qingyan looked at Wang Xian with displeasure. Did he really think that he had to go through so much trouble to call you over just to rely on you to heal him? This was merely because the one who was injured was his brother. He would not let go of any opportunity to heal him. It's a little troublesome to be invaded by 17 darkness souls. Forefather Chengwang swept a cold glance at Wang Xian before turning his gaze to Wu Qingcheng. His expression gradually turned solemn. He moved his arm and a resplendent staff appeared in his hand. On the head of the staff was the image of a winged figure that resembled an angel. The angels trembled slightly as the 17 little angels slowly descended into Wu Qingcheng's body. 17 darkness souls. Patriarch's strength has increased by another step. He can definitely expel them easily. These are the angels of light. Each angel contains boundless light and can expel all darkness. Everyone in the surroundings and even at the back looked astonished when they saw the attack of the morning light patriarch. 17 angels of light. Each angel of light contained energy no lower than the darkness souls. 17 angels of light could expel 17 souls of darkness from the body of the Crown Prince of Wuqing City. Chapter 1568. 1568 Saint of Light 7. To destroy the darkness soul with the powerful power of light requires precise control, especially when Qing City is of the darkness attribute. It is extremely difficult. However, the strength of the morning light has increased by quite a lot. This angel of light is not bad. Dark Eye Elder's eyes were also staring intently at this place. He commented indifferently when he saw the morning light elder attack. Although the Crown Prince has been invaded by 17 darkness souls, it is fortunate that they are all at the 6th level of the profound void tier. With the increase in my strength, I can accurately control 20 angels of light. It is not too difficult to deal with the darkness souls. When Dawn Light Patriarch heard Dark Eye Patriarch's words, he said indifferently, "Hiss, controlling 20 angels of light, Dawn Light Patriarch's control over light is terrifying. Yeah, it's simply too powerful. If only I had such powerful control, that would be great." The Patriarch is worthy of being the Patriarch. In terms of control over the light attribute, no one can rival him. It seems that the dark soul in the Crown Prince's body can be quickly dispelled. In the surroundings, when everyone saw the Morning Light Patriarch controlling 17 angels of light into the body of Wuching City, all the radiant priests had looks of amazement on their faces. Such control over the light was indeed worthy of being the #1 radiant priest. When Wang Xian saw the move of the Patriarch of the Morning Light, he raised his eyebrows slightly and revealed a hint of surprise on his face. As expected of a radiant priest at the 8th level of the see-through void tier, his control ability is indeed powerful. Wang Xian didn't hold back and directly praised. "HMPH, with your strength, you don't have the right to judge our Patriarch. Just watch with your eyes wide open and broaden your horizons." When Tian Qingguang heard his words, he glanced at Wang Xian with a gloomy face and said mockingly. Wu Qingyan clenched her fists at Wang Xian and raised her head slightly. Wang Xian did not shift his gaze. His dragon eyes of fire and light were staring straight into Wu Qingqing's body. He felt that the darkness souls in Wu Qingqing's body were not that simple. These darkness souls were completely complete and possessed powerful intelligence. They have joined forces. As expected, just as Wang Xian expected, when the 17 angels of light entered the body of Wuqing City and were about to destroy the darkness souls, all the darkness souls actually joined forces. Huh! Forefather of the Morning Light was slightly stunned when he heard Wang Xian's words. When he sensed that the darkness souls in the body of Wuqing City were about to join forces, his expression changed slightly. He glanced at Wang Xian in surprise and his aura trembled. Even if they joined forces, they will definitely die today. How dare they stay in the body of the Crown Prince of Wuqing City? Prepare to be purified. A strong sense of confidence appeared on Forefather Chengwang's face. The radiant angel staff in his hand shook once again. 3 more radiant angels appeared and fell into the body of Wuqing City. They used their powerful control to suppress the soul of darkness. Even Wang Xian had to admit the strength of the Forefather of the Morning Light. He was indeed worthy of being the pioneer of the Radiant Priest. With his current strength, he is indeed able to control the soul of darkness. Wang Xian watched from the side as he muttered. However, before he could finish his words, his expression instantly turned grave. "This is troublesome. Stop immediately." Wang Xian quickly said to Patriarch of Dawn Light. "Shut up. Don't talk nonsense when our Patriarch banishes you." A kid who thinks he can interfere with our Patriarch just because he has some strength? He doesn't know his place. As soon as Wang Xian finished his sentence, 2 priests of light shouted coldly from the side. "This is bad." As soon as the 2 priests of light finished their words, Forefather Chengwang's heart skipped a beat and his expression turned ugly. "Come out." He shouted immediately and 20 angels of light flew out from Wu Qingcheng's body. Ah, roar roar. At this moment, Wu Qingcheng suddenly let out a blood-curdling scream. Following that, the blood-curdling scream turned into a terrifying beast roar. The roar was filled with a brutal expression. Wu Qingcheng's eyes changed rapidly like a wild beast. Devour! 17 darkness souls are actually being devoured. They are about to merge into one and evolve. Seeing this scene, Forefather Dawn Light's body trembled and his face turned pale. He stared at Wu Qingcheng's body and his expression kept changing. What happened? Dark Eye Patriarch appeared in front of Wu Qingcheng in an instant and stared at him. Wu Qingcheng's body was trembling violently. His face, stomach, and arms bulged one after another. His skin was torn as if it was going to explode. "Evil creature, if you dare to hurt my descendant's life, I will turn you into ashes." Patriarch Dark-Eye growled in a deep voice as a terrifying and brutal aura rushed into Wu Qing City's body. At this moment, Patriarch Dark-Eye was like an awakened darkness demon god, looking down at the entire world. The darkness souls in Wu Qing City's body sensed this aura and immediately fell silent. Their skin began to recover. Plop! At this moment, Patriarch Dawn Light, who was standing by the side, sensed this aura and immediately knelt down. "Lord Dark Pupil, it's my fault. I didn't expect that this group of darkness souls would actually devour and evolve each other. He knelt beside Forefather Dark Pupil, lowered his head, and said with an extremely unsightly expression. When all the surrounding radiant priests saw Forefather Dawn Light kneeling down, their hearts turned cold. "Is there any other way?" Forefather Dark Pupil stood there and swept a glance at Forefather Dawn Light, his expression slowly sinking. Unless there's a radiant priest at level 9 of the Insight Void, otherwise." Morning Light Patriarch said with an extremely ugly expression. There was no radiant priest at level 9 of the Insight Void in the entire Transcendence continent. His words made everyone in Wuji Dynasty look extremely ugly. This meant that the Crown Prince of Wuqing City was about to fall. The death of the Crown Prince was a major event for the entire Wuji Dynasty. Everyone around them fell silent. Their expressions were ugly. "All radiant priests, investigate Qing City. If anyone can cure them, our Wuji Empire will give you whatever you want." At this moment, Patriarch Dark-Eye expressionlessly glanced at all the radiant priests and said coldly. Everyone could feel the faint pressure coming from his body. Some of the weaker ones had cold sweat forming on their foreheads. All the radiant priests hesitated for a moment before taking 2 steps forward. They carefully sized up the Crown Prince of Wuqing City who was floating in the air. "Big brother." Qing City. The people from Wuji Empire clenched their fists tightly in the surroundings. Their expressions were extremely ugly. Everyone from the He clan and Bingxin Empire looked over in astonishment. They didn't expect that the Crown Prince of Wuji Imperial City of Wuji Empire would actually die in the hands of the Darkness Soul. "I want 3 light pearls of the 8th level of the Void Interpretation Stage and 10 light pearls of the 7th level of the Void Interpretation Stage." At this moment, Wang Xian swept his gaze across the surroundings with ease. His gaze landed on Wu Qing City as he spoke indifferently. His voice resounded in the ears of everyone around. Chapter 1569. 1569 Title 1569. The Sage. "I want 3 level 8 light pearls and 10 level 7 light pearls." When Wang Xian's voice fell, the already silent surroundings became even quieter. Everyone's breathing became slightly sluggish. What does he mean?" A radiant priest looked over and looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. Everyone from the Wuji Empire also looked at Wang Xian in unison. You have a way to save my brother?" Wu Qingyan was the first to react. Her expression changed as she stared at Wang Xian and asked loudly. "Yes." Wang Xian looked at Wu Qingyan and nodded his head faintly. How is that possible? Our ancestors said that unless a radiant priest at level 9 of the Void Interpretation Stage makes a move, otherwise, how could you?" Tian Qingguang, who was at the side, trembled. He stared at Wang Xian in disbelief and growled in a low voice. He could not believe that this fellow could cure a person that even his patriarch could not save. 17 darkness souls have fused into one and reached level 7 of the Void Interpretation Stage. They are expelled from the body of the Crown Prince of Wuqing City. They must be eliminated without harming the Crown Prince. A radiant priest at the 8th level of the See-Through Realm cannot do that unless he is at the 9th level. If he were to attack rashly, he would cause great harm to the Crown Prince. Forefather Chengwang frowned as he looked at Wang Xian. He did not believe that a young man could expel the darkness souls from the body of the Crown Prince of Wuqing City, even if he was a monstrous young man. If you are not confident, it is best that you do not attack rashly. He added in the end. All the radiant priests around were also looking at Wang Xian with sparkling eyes. How confident are you? Patriarch of Dark Eye frowned as he looked at Wang Xian and asked in a deep voice. Just because others can't do it doesn't mean I can't do it. 3 level 8 light pearls and 10 level 7 light pearls. Senior, how about this reward? Wang Xian glanced at the Morning Light Patriarch and said to Dark Eye Patriarch. Alright, if you can really cure Qing City, our Wuji Empire will give you this reward. Dark Eye Patriarch stared at this somewhat daring young man and nodded his head heavily. All right. Wang Xian smiled and opened his palm. The light dragon pearl appeared in his hand. The luminous dragon pearl had already reached the 7th level of the see-through realm. It was still a long way from the 8th level of the see-through realm. However, it was sufficient to expel the soul of darkness. This is impossible, unless you have reached the 9th level of the see-through realm. However, you are definitely not a radiant priest of the 9th level of the see-through realm. Seeing that Wang Xian had really made his move, Forefather Chengwang's expression changed as he spoke in a low voice. Impossible? Hee, a master is a master. Watch carefully and learn from him. Wang Xian said to Forefather Chengwang in a mocking tone as he moved his arm. Roar! A dragon's roar came from the light dragon bead. Following that, the dragon bead slowly transformed into a half-meter-long light divine dragon. The light divine dragon revolved around Wang Xian. But at this moment, Wang Xian's body was enveloped by a thick light energy. Surrounded by the divine light dragon, he looked holy and noble. He slowly extended his milky white arm. Wu Qing City, which was suspended in the air, floated towards him. Roar! The divine light dragon let out a soft roar once again and began to revolve around Wu Qing City. What is that? How can it be so agile? At the side, the forefather of the morning light stared at the divine dragon of light with his eyes wide open. His face was filled with astonishment. What a terrifying power of light! 7th level of the see-through realm. Such a young powerhouse at the 7th level of the see-through realm. The surrounding priests of light were also looking at him in shock. Even the forefather of the Dark Eye was extremely shocked. Whoosh! Wang Xian waved both of his hands and a pair of jade-like hands of light flew toward Wuqing City. He drew a long gash on his chest. What is he trying to do? His Royal Highness the Crown Prince is of the darkness attribute. He is already very powerful since he didn't suffer any backlash from the dark energy when he cut open his Royal Highness chest. Everyone around them stared at him and discussed in low voices. At this moment, a dragon's roar that shook the heaven and earth was emitted from the divine light dragon's mouth. A terrifying light power spread out in all directions. Be careful. In the Wuji Empire, other than Patriarch Dark Eye and the Elder holding the Dark Staff, everyone else retreated to the rear. They stared at the divine light dragon in fear, their eyes filled with shock. So powerful! That creature that condensed light actually gave me a powerful threat. An expert at the 7th level of the see-through void took a deep breath and said with a twinkling gaze. At this moment, the morning light ancestor was completely speechless. He stared at the divine light dragon in disbelief with a twinkling gaze. But Wang Xian slowly spread his arms. The powerful light force instantly formed a 20-meter-wide domain around him. In this space, everything was bright and nothing else could be seen. Even the Dark Eye Patriarch, who was standing by the side, revealed a hint of surprise in his eyes. His pair of black eyes could not see through this space. Roar! At this moment, the divine light dragon entered the body of Wu Qing City. The moment the divine light dragon entered, the darkness soul inside let out a series of roars. Come here! At this moment, a voice filled with brutality, terror, and command rang in the soul of darkness's ears. Its body trembled as it felt the attraction of its own kind outside. Looking at the divine dragon of light who was competing with it for territory, it hesitated for a moment before flying out. But the moment the soul of darkness emerged from Wuqing City's body, Wang Xian waved his arm and a pitch-black dragon claw grabbed it. At the location of his heart, a dark dragon head filled with dignity and brutality appeared. The dragon head opened its mouth and swallowed the terrified soul of darkness. Wang Xian smiled and waved his arm. The divine light dragon flew towards the location of his heart. The healing of the light landed on Wu Qingcheng's chest and the wound healed immediately. After the dark soul was expelled from Wu Qingcheng's body, his body moved and he slowly opened his eyes. Alright, congratulations. I didn't give you face last time. I'll take it as returning it to you this time. I have a black veil heart fruit here. After consuming it, I reckon you should be able to achieve a breakthrough. Wang Xian looked at Wu Qingcheng who had recovered. He waved his arm and the black veil heart fruit landed in front of him as he said faintly. At the same time, the surrounding light energy had completely dissipated, revealing the figures of two people. Wu Qingcheng sized up his body and looked at the heart fruit of darkness with a burning gaze. Thank you, Pastor Wang. If it wasn't for you this time, my life would really be in the hands of this group of darkness souls. As he spoke, he bowed deeply to Wang Xian. Chapter 1570. 1570 Title 1570, Under the Sage. Thank you for this heart of darkness. If there is anyone who can use my Wuqing City in the future, I will not decline. Wuqing City continued to speak and bowed heavily to Wang Xian once again. Two sounds of gratitude and two bows. Wuqing City's face was filled with respect and gratitude. However, at this moment, everyone around was staring at this scene in shock. When Wang Xian was shrouded in light, no one could see what was happening inside. All they heard was a majestic roar and a roar. In less than 10 seconds, the Crown Prince of Wuqing City had recovered. This speed was no different from healing some minor injuries. Qingcheng, you have completely recovered. Patriarch Dark Eye had a look of disbelief on his face. He moved and appeared beside Wu Qingcheng. Patriarch, you're worried? I feel like I've completely recovered. Wu Qingcheng looked at the patriarch in front of him and smiled. After being invaded by the darkness, he could still sense the outside world. He could see every move of the outside world clearly. Good. Qingcheng is lucky. Dark Pupil put his arm on Wu Qingcheng's shoulder to sense. When he found that the darkness soul had been removed, he was excited. He patted Wu Qingcheng's shoulder heavily and laughed. It's good that Qingcheng is fine. It's good that he is fine. Brother. The elder holding the dark staff ran over with Wu Qingyan and the rest. Their faces were also filled with excitement. Cough cough, he managed to expel the soul of darkness at the 7th level of the see-through realm so quickly. This is unbelievable. He actually managed to do it. Doesn't that mean that this priest Wang is even stronger than the forefather of the morning light? Around them, the priests of light were staring at Wang Xian with a complicated look on their faces as they gulped. That's impossible. His strength is only at level 7 of the see-through void tier. How could it be? Patriarch of Dawn Light looked at Wang Xian in a daze as his expression kept changing. Thank you, Priest Wang. I really didn't expect you to have such a powerful ability at such a young age. Patriarch Dark Pupil was in a good mood as he said to Wang Xian. He. Wang Xian smiled faintly and didn't say anything. Pastor Wang has given me a black veil heart fruit. I reckon that I will be able to achieve a breakthrough soon. Wu Qingcheng looked at Wang Xian and said with a smile. Other than gratitude towards Wang Xian, there was also a hint of admitting defeat in his heart. Such a person was really not someone he could compare to. Pastor Wang, the 3 level 8 light pearls and the 10 level 7 light pearls that you require will be delivered by our Wuji Empire within 3 days. We will not go back on our words. Patriarch Dark Eye said to Wang Xian. Furthermore, Pastor Wang has saved the life of the crown prince of our Wuji Empire. Our Wuji Empire will not be stingy. Today. As he spoke, his gaze turned to all the pastors of light in front of him. Today, our Wuji Empire will confer the title of Saint of Light to Pastor Wang Xian. All the families of our empire, those with cultivation levels below the 8th rank of the Void Interpretation Realm, will bow and treat you with respect. The last two sentences of Patriarch Dark Eye's voice resounded throughout the ruins of the Divine Kingdom. When the surrounding radiant priests heard Patriarch Dark Eye's announcement, their bodies trembled and their eyes widened. Saint of Light, confer the title of Saint. This was the first time among all the radiant priests to be conferred the title of Saint by Wuji Empire. Furthermore, it was the title of Saint. Especially in Wuji Empire, all the powerhouses below level 8 of the see-through void tier had to bow and treat them with respect. This represented a position, an extremely high position. Even in the royal family of Wuji Empire, many people had to address him as the saint. Glory, great glory. Cough, 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 cough. When the forefather of Dawn Light heard these words, he coughed violently twice and looked at Wang Xian with jealousy in his eyes. The Sage of Light, the title conferred by the forefather of Wuji Empire. This title was equivalent to the strongest among the radiant priests. This made the Elder of Dawn Light, who was standing at the peak of the radiant priests, feel extremely uncomfortable. It was no exaggeration to say that just the title of the Sage of Light was enough to make him one of the top forces in the vast region. Among the Wuji Empire and all the first-rate forces, he was considered a guest of honor. When Wang Xian heard the title conferred by the Wuji Empire, he smiled nonchalantly. Compared to this title, those pearls of light were what he wanted the most. As long as he obtained those pearls of light, he would be able to completely fuse the heart of light and darkness. However, this title is also very useful. Wang Xian scanned his surroundings and noticed that all the priests of light were filled with shock and awe. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. This title represented that he stood at the peak of the priests of light and looked down on all the priests of light. Senior, the radiant pearl will be delivered to the Holy Medicine Clinic in 3 days. I will go there to retrieve it. Wang Xian said to Patriarch of Dark Eye. Patriarch of Dark Eye nodded. Wang Xian smiled and walked towards the location of the Bingxin Empire. Sir Sage. He walked forward. Everyone around him quickly made way for him. Some of the priests shouted in a low voice. When he passed by the people from the Divine Light Empire, he paused for a moment and looked at the Chengwang Patriarch and Tian Qingguang. Sir Sage. A few radiant priests who were at level 7 and level 6 of the see-through realm quickly bowed and shouted with an embarrassed expression. Tian Qingguang clenched his fists. His eyes were filled with helplessness as he shouted as well. Now, I have the right to call you trash. Wang Xian took a glance at Tian Qingguang and Forefather Chengwang before walking straight over. I admit defeat, I admit defeat. Forefather Chengwang's face was dark and filled with helplessness. He had stood at the peak of his life. He did not expect to be knocked off his pedestal today. In the future, everyone in the world would know that the Saint of Light was number 1. That Saint of Light is walking towards us again. At the location of the Bingxin Empire, when everyone saw Wang Xian walking towards them, they were all astonished. The king of Bingxin's expression changed as well. His gaze landed on Ling Jian. His eyes sparkled as he raised his eyebrows. Ah, heroes come from youngsters. Saint, I heard that you have a good relationship with Jian. You guys should interact with each other more in the future. Jian is my adopted daughter. We welcome the saint to our Bingxin Empire in the future. King Bingxin laughed out loud and said to Wang Xian with a smile. Wang Xian was slightly stunned when he saw King Bingxin's enthusiastic look. His eyes were filled with a smile as he said, I might have to trouble King Bingxin then. No trouble, no trouble. King Bingxin shook his head and looked at Ling Jian. Jian, you should have a good interaction with Priest Wang in the future. He said with a smile on his face. Obviously, After witnessing the relationship between Wang Xian's strength and the Wuji Empire, he wanted to befriend Wang Xian. As for who he should befriend, he obviously had an opinion. Chapter 1571. 1571. In 1571, there was a girl growing up. Hello, my name is Wang Xian. Wang Xian looked at Ling Jian'er, who was staring at him with a twinkle in her eyes. His face was filled with a smile. He stretched out his hand and placed it in front of Ling Jian'er. Ling Jian'er looked at Wang Xian, who was standing in front of her. Looking at his palm, she was a little stunned. The statue that appeared every morning, the image of her when she was in danger in the black screen garden, appeared in her mind one after another. Hello, my name is Bing Jian'er. Ling Jian'er stretched out her hand and held Wang Xian's hand. After hesitating for a moment, she opened her mouth and said, "If you have nothing to do these few days, I can come and look for you, right?" Wang Xian looked at Ling Jian'er and continued with a smile in his eyes. "Sure." Ling Jian'er looked at him, staring at her with a burning gaze. She lowered her head slightly and said softly, "All right, I'll see you tomorrow then." Wang Xian smiled and nodded at the king of Bingxin. He then turned around and walked towards the He clan. Jian'er, you should get along well with the priest of the Sage King in the future, understand? The king of Bingxin was smiling happily from behind. However, the ninth prince, who was standing at the side, looked extremely embarrassed when he heard his father's words. He clenched his fists tightly and his body was trembling slightly. His eyes were filled with anger and unwillingness. Brother Wang Xian. At this moment, everyone from the He clan looked at Wang Xian, who was walking towards them with a strange expression on their faces. In fact, when the Wuji Empire conferred Wang Xian the title of the Saint of Light, their expressions were extremely strange. Their He clan knew that the sky demon was Wang Xian. A heavenly demon who slaughtered the ancient city of demons and killed 25 experts at level 7 of the see-through realm was actually conferred the title of saint by the Wuji Empire. Damn it, if others were to know about this, it would probably cause a commotion. The Saint of Light was the heavenly demon. Who could believe it? Unbelievable. However, knowing the truth, they were filled with reverence towards this Wang Xian. Even an expert at level 7 of the see-through realm from the He clan was filled with awe and respect. It was terrifying to think that a person could be the Sage of Light and the heavenly demon. There are some things that happened a few days ago. Let's have a good gathering today. Wang Xian walked over and patted He Yuan on the shoulder. Sure. I really didn't expect Brother Wang Xian to be able to reach such a level. He Yuan laughed out loud as he spoke. The rest of the He clan also came over to greet him. Wang Xian chatted with them for a while before leaving with He Yuan. At this moment, in the vast region, the voice of the Patriarch of Wuji Empire shook everyone. Priest Wang was conferred the title of Saint of Light by Wuji Empire. This title was not undeserved. Everyone had to acknowledge the title of being conferred by one of the three major forces. In a few hours, the news of Priest Wang using his powerful light technique to expel the rank 7 insightful void tier darkness soul from the Crown Prince's body spread throughout the entire vast region. Soon after, the news that Priest Wang had the strength of a rank 7 insightful void tier was also spread out. Soon, everyone was in an uproar. Their faces were filled with shock as they discussed animatedly. Rank 7 insightful void tier. That guy is actually a rank 7 insightful void tier. In Soli sect, the two Heaven's Pride experts in heaven and earth had extremely ugly expressions when they heard the news. They looked at each other and clenched their arms with unwillingness. 7th level of the Profound Void tier, and he was also conferred the title of the Saint of Light by Wuji Empire. With their abilities, there was no way for them to take revenge. Jian, you should rest well and get dressed properly tomorrow. Priest Wang might come and look for you. In front of Ling Jian'er's courtyard, King Bingxin instructed her with a smile. Ling Jian'er nodded and walked into the courtyard. Father, didn't you say that you wanted to marry Jian'er to your son? At the side, the ninth prince, Bing Jinghuan, looked at his father unwillingly and said with a trembling body, "My son, it's not that father doesn't want to betroth Jian to you. From the looks of it, Jian being able to marry that priest Wang is the best choice. Not to mention that priest Wang's strength and potential. Don't forget that one of our forefathers has been invaded by the soul of darkness. If he can be cured, our Bingxin dynasty will have one more peerless expert at the 8th level of the profound void tier. In the future, don't even think about targeting Jian. Be more polite to that priest Wang." Bingxin King patted Bing Jinghuan's shoulder and said earnestly. This caused Bing Jinghuan to lower his head, his expression somewhat malevolent. "That is the great sage priest Wang. It is the great sage priest Wang. I heard that he can even expel the soul of darkness of rank 7 of the profound void tier from his body. His light arts are unrivaled. Even the forefather of dawn light is inferior to him. He's really amazing. He's already standing at the peak at such a young age. In the future, when he's in the vast region, all the factions will have to be polite to him. The sage looks so approachable. Back then, he saved nearly 100,000 people for free. He's a good person." The next day, when Wang Xian was walking towards the area of the Bingxin Empire, respectful voices could be heard from the surrounding roads. Wang Xian was in a good mood as he smiled and walked straight to the front of Ling Jian'er's courtyard. "Your Highness, the sage, priest Wang, requests to see you." The maid quickly entered the courtyard and said to Ling Jian, "Yes, let him in." Ling Jian'er walked out of the room with light makeup on. She looked towards the door. "Jian'er." Wang Xian smiled and walked over immediately. Ling Jian'er looked at the handsome Wang Xian and smiled. "Young Master Wang, I have a gift for you." Wang Xian walked forward and took out sculptures one by one and handed them to her. Ling Jian'er looked at the sculptures and smiled. In the morning, when he didn't receive the sculptures at the door, there was an indescribable feeling in his heart. Now that he saw them, his mood was much better. "Thank you." Ling Jian'er took it and sat in front of a stone bench with Wang Xian. They started chatting. Wang Xian and Ling Jian'er didn't talk about the past. Instead, they used his perfect tongue to talk nonsense. The morning passed very quickly. In the afternoon, Ling Jian'er wanted to practice her swordsmanship. Wang Xian thickened his skin and didn't leave. He sat there and watched Ling Jian'er practice her swordsmanship. When he saw her swordsmanship, he had an idea and called Ao Jian over. Ao Jian practiced the heartless sword principle. Now that he could kill a level 6 see-through void martial artist, his swordsmanship was much better than Ling Jian'er's. With Ao Jian's guidance, Ling Jian'er was delighted. She thanked Wang Xian many times. This made him very happy. It wouldn't be long before Ling Jian'er was taken care of by him. For the next 2 days, Wang Xian spent all his time with Ling Jian'er during the day. At first, she was still not used to it. However, under Wang Xian's thick skin, she quickly got used to it. Furthermore, her mood was much more cheerful. Her relationship with Wang Xian had improved tremendously every day. Naturally, Wang Xian didn't want Ling Jian'er to look cold. He teased and teased her every day, which changed Ling Jian'er's character a lot. Chapter 1572. 1572. In 1572, a girl was growing up. "Sir Sage, Your Highness, there's someone outside who wants to see you." 4 days later, in the morning, a maid came to the courtyard and reported to Wang Xian and Ling Jian'er. "Who is it?" Ling Jian'er looked at the maid and asked. "They are here to look for Sir Sage. They want him to help them expel the dark soul from their bodies. They said that they will pay a high price." The maid replied, "Wang Xian, it's for you." Ling Jian'er looked at Wang Xian and said, "Tell them to look for me at night. They don't have time during the day." Wang Xian smiled at Ling Jian'er and said to the maid, "Why don't you have time during the day?" Ling Jian'er looked at him and said, "Of course, it's to accompany our beautiful Jian'er." Wang Xian said with a smile, "Nonsense again." Ling Jian'er rolled her eyes at him. Aren't you fast at treating them? You can treat them here. It's all right. I have time at night too. I can't let others disturb our private time. Wang Xian took a sip of the tea on the table and said with a smile. It's all right. I still want to see how you treat others. Last night, the emperor came to me and asked if you could help an elder of the Bingxin Empire expel the dark soul in his body. Ling Jian said to Wang Xian. Oh, is that so? Then tell the king of Bingxin that I will definitely do my best. Wang Xian said with a smile. The king of Bingxin was very good at doing things. Even if he were to treat the elders of the Bingxin Empire for free, it wouldn't be a big deal. All right, I will inform the emperor. Ling Jian nodded her head. Now, she was, after all, a member of the Bingxin Empire. She was also the disciple of the patriarch of the Bingxin Empire and the adopted daughter of the emperor. Let them in. Wang Xian said directly to the maidservant. It's the sage. The maidservant nodded her head and walked out. The sage. Soon, many middle-aged elders walked over. They looked at Wang Xian and cupped their hands respectfully. Wang Xian's gaze swept past them and landed on an elder beside him. The elder was extremely weak and exuded a deathly stillness. Clearly, he had been invaded by the soul of darkness for a long time. He has the strength of a 7th-level void interpretation. As long as the reward is sufficient, I can expel the soul of darkness from his body. Wang Xian said directly. Sir Sage, do you think these rewards are feasible? An elder threw an interspatial ring over and said to Wang Xian. I still have a hairpin of the 6th level of the void interpretation realm here. I'll give it to this lady. A middle-aged man hesitated for a moment before taking out a golden hairpin. He walked to Ling Jian's side and said with a smile. Sorry. You guys wait outside. I'll be able to get rid of the dark soul in his body very soon. Wang Xian laughed out loud and said directly to them. Yes. Thank you, Sage. Thank you. The group of middle-aged elders nodded their heads excitedly and waited outside. This is for you. Ling Jian looked at the hairpin in her hand and quickly placed it beside Wang Xian. Why are you giving it to me? I don't carry a girl's hairpin. You can take it. Wang Xian smiled and waved his arm. The hairpin was inserted directly into her hair. Umph. This made Ling Jian snort softly. However, her eyes were filled with joy. Clearly, she looked like a young girl in love. But at this moment, the luminous dragon bead flew out from Wang Xian's body and enveloped the old man. Wang Xian had already received the bunch of luminous pearls sent by the Wuji Empire and had them absorbed by the luminous dragon bead. Before long, the luminous dragon pearl would be able to evolve to the 8th level of the see-through realm. The darkness soul in the old man's body was only at the 6th level of the see-through realm. With his strength, he could easily get rid of it. Very soon, the old man, who was filled with the aura of death, regained a lot of his vitality. Thank you, Sage. Thank you. The old man sensed the rich vitality in his body and revealed an excited expression. He quickly sensed it. There's no need. I've already received the reward. Let's go. Wang Xian said with a smile. You're really amazing. Ling Jian's eyes sparkled when she saw Wang Xian heal a person with a wave of his hand. She said with a smile. Of course. Wang Xian laughed out loud as he patted his chest. Ling Jian rolled her eyes at him. Not long after, a few more groups of people came to seek the removal of the dark soul in his body. Wang Xian easily healed it and received a lot of rewards. It seems that many people know that I can remove the soul of darkness. There will probably be more people coming in the next few days. Give it to Jian. This is a spiritual herb of the 6th level of the void interpretation realm. It has a metal attribute and is very beneficial to your cultivation. In the evening, Wang Xian looked at the spiritual herb beside him and passed it to Ling Jian. I don't want it. You've already given me a lot of things. Ling Jian shook her head and turned her back to him. What's mine is yours. Take it if you want it. Wang Xian smiled and placed the spiritual herb directly on her head. He smiled and said, "It's not bad. It's pretty. You're looking for a beating." Ling Jian quickly took it off and glared at him. "Huh, what's wrong, Jian? Did Priest Wang make you unhappy?" At this moment, King Bingxin's loud laughter came from outside. Ling Jianyar's face was slightly red. She hurriedly stood up and looked towards the door. "Your Majesty." All right, Jian, you sit. Priest Wang, sorry to disturb you." King Bingxin smiled and waved at Ling Jian. Bing Jinghuan, who was beside him, clenched his fists tightly when he saw Ling Jianyar's slightly red and alluring face. "I won't disturb you." Wang Xian smiled and shook his head. His gaze swept across an old man beside King Bingxin. "King Bingxin, does this senior need some treatment? Priest Wang is really smart. I wonder if Priest Wang is confident." King Bingxin's eyes were burning with passion as he asked hurriedly. The old man was also looking at Wang Xian with excitement. "This senior situation is similar to that of Wuqing City. We can resolve it now." Wang Xian smiled and said directly, "Then I shall trouble you, Priest Wang. Thank you so much. Our patriarch has been invaded by the darkness. Although he didn't lose his mind, he has been suppressing it in his body and his strength has been greatly reduced. If Pastor Wang can cure him, our Bingxin Empire will be eternally grateful." The king of Bingxin said excitedly. "You don't have to be so polite." Wang Xian shook his head and walked to the side of the old man immediately. He began to remove the darkness soul in his body. "Thank you, little brother." The old man nodded at Wang Xian with a smile on his face. "You're welcome." To Wang Xian, dealing with the soul of darkness at the 7th level of the void interpretation realm was very easy. In less than 2 minutes, it was easily eliminated. This caused the king of Bingxin to be endlessly grateful. Wang Xian did not charge him any fees and chatted for a while with a smile. On the other hand, the old man from the Bingxin Empire went back to cultivate excitedly to recover his strength. Chapter 1573. 1573 on the betrayal of the Bingxin Empire. When Wang Xian cured a few powerhouses who were invaded by the soul of darkness, especially after curing the ancestors of the Bingxin Empire, the name of the Saint of Light was even more resounding. If the name of the saint was conferred by the Wuji Empire in the beginning, it was now publicly acknowledged. After staying in Ling Jianyar's courtyard for 7 to 8 days, the relationship between Wang Xian and her increased daily. Now, they could already have some intimate little moves. This made Wang Xian very happy. In the past few days, the relationship between the Bingxin Empire and Wang Xian was also very good. The king of Bingxin even vaguely revealed that he could marry Ling Jian to Wang Xian. "I've made a breakthrough. I've finally made a breakthrough." On the afternoon of the 10th day, Wang Xian and Ao Jian stood in the courtyard and looked at Ling Jian who was getting up. She looked at Wang Xian with excitement and shouted happily. After absorbing the sword heart grass and the various spiritual herbs and elixirs that Wang Xian had given her for the past 10 days, her strength had broken through to the 3rd level of the see-through realm. Once she broke through to the 3rd level of the see-through realm, she could kill an expert at the 4th level of the see-through realm. Her strength had achieved a qualitative improvement. It was not an exaggeration to say that Ling Jianyar's current strength and talent were unrivaled in the entire vast region. Even Wuqing City, Nangong Wudi, and the 2 heavens favorites from the solitaire sect were no match for Ling Jian. Congratulations to our Jian for her great increase in strength. Wang Xian walked over with a smile on his face and patted her head. Put your hand down." Ling Jian glared at him, but her eyes were filled with a smile. "The emperor wants me to participate in the solitaire sect's martial arts competition tomorrow. If I win, I will be able to obtain a lot of resources and become famous." The unique martial arts competition organized by the unique sect? If you want to participate, just do it. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and said directly, "Yes, my master also wants me to participate, If I can obtain good results, it will be beneficial to our Bingxin Empire. Ling Jian nodded. With your strength, Jian, you will definitely be able to suppress the entire arena. No one is your match. Wang Xian smiled at her and said, Hmish, that's right. I will definitely get first place. Ling Jian raised her head with a smile and said confidently, In the future, a swordswoman will appear in the vast region. Wang Xian said with a smile. He looked at the time and said, I will go back first. I will look for you tomorrow morning. Okay. Ling Jian nodded and watched Wang Xian leave. The next morning, when Wang Xian arrived in front of Ling Jianyar's courtyard, he found dozens of young men from the Bingxin Empire gathered there. Sir Sage! Sir Sage! When they saw Wang Xian coming over, everyone shouted at him respectfully. Now, everyone in the Bingxin Empire knew that Wang Xian had saved the patriarch of the Bingxin Empire. In addition to his powerful strength, no one dared not to treat him respectfully. Even the ninth prince, Bing Jinghuan, lowered his head with an awkward expression and greeted Wang Xian when he saw him. Yes. Wang Xian nodded at them with a smile. Wang Xian. Ling Jian walked over and shouted at Wang Xian with a smile. Yes, are all of you going to participate? Wang Xian looked at the group of young people from the Bingxin Empire and asked with a smile. Some of you are going to participate. Let's go, let's hurry over. Ling Jian nodded and urged him. All right, all right. The Bingxin Empire had a closer relationship with the Solitaire sect, and they respected the Solitaire sect. All the young people could participate in the Solitaire martial arts competition. If they performed well in the competition, they would be accepted into the Solitaire sect. Every year, tens of thousands of youths would try their best to join the sect. Once they joined such a large sect, no one would dare to offend them in the vast region. Priest Wang. When they had not gone far, a voice sounded. Everyone from the Ice Heart dynasty was slightly shocked when they heard this voice and quickly looked over. Your Highness the Crown Prince. Everyone's expression changed slightly as they immediately shouted respectfully. Wuqing City. Wang Xian looked over. It seems like you have completely recovered. I have to thank you, Pastor Wang. I'm here to thank you personally. Wuqing City spoke with great respect. He walked over with a smile on his face. There's no need to thank me. I've received a lot of rewards. Wang Xian smiled. It's different, it's different. If it weren't for you, my life would be over. Where are you going, Pastor Wang? Wu Qingqing shook his head and said, Jian'er is participating in the exclusive martial arts competition of the Solitaire sect. That's why I'm accompanying her. Wang Xian said with a smile. Pastor Wang, you're really a good man. I originally wanted to thank you today. Since that's the case, don't mind if I go with you guys to take a look. Wu Qingqing smiled. Sure. Wang Xian looked at Ling Jian and nodded. All right. Wu Qingqing walked over with a smile and started a simple conversation with Wang Xian and Ling Jianyar. Behind him, a group of young men from the Icy Heart Empire watched this scene in awe. Even the crown prince of the Wuji Empire was so respectful to Priest Wang. One could imagine his current status. He kept walking in the direction of the Solitaire sect. Numerous mountains appeared in his line of sight. The Solitaire sect was located in a mountain peak in the base of the ruins of the Divine Kingdom. The Solitaire sect occupies the best part of the ruins of the Divine Kingdom. There is a powerful formation left behind by the Divine Kingdom, such as long-distance teleportation. As they approached the mountains, Wuqing City spoke to Wang Xian. Long-distance teleportation. What kind of formation is this? Wang Xian looked at him curiously. Long-distance teleportation. It's even more powerful than the teleportation of a longevity-level powerhouse. Through long-distance teleportation, one can instantly travel tens of thousands of kilometers. This is a formation left behind from the ruins of the Divine Kingdom. Only my sect is lucky enough to occupy it. Wu Qingqing said with some envy. That's the Crown Prince of Wuqing City. Why is he here? Look at the young man next to him. He's Priest Wang of the Sage. Oh my God! I heard that the sage likes a princess of the Bingxin Empire. The Bingxin Empire has struck it rich this time. As they continued walking in, more and more people gathered. When they saw Wang Xian in Wuqing City, they were all shocked. The name of the Saint of Light had spread across the entire vast region. They continued to walk in and entered the valley. Around them, there were many young men who had rushed over from other places. There were many of them, more than 100,000 of them. However, there were only about 10,000 of them who were qualified to participate in the competition. It's right in front. That's the supreme stage. After walking for about 10 kilometers, they arrived at the center of the two mountain peaks. In front of them, there were tall stages. On both sides of the arenas, there were two stone pillars that were 500 meters tall. One on the left and one on the right, each of them wrote, "In heaven and on earth, only I am supreme." Chapter 1574. 1574. In the midst of the Ice Heart Empire's betrayal. In the heavens and the earth, only I reign supreme. How domineering! In the surroundings, some of the youths who had come to the ruins of the Solitaire Sect's divine kingdom for the first time looked at the two stone pillars that were 500 meters tall with faces full of shocks. The 8 large words on them were filled with wildness and wildness. They contained an aura of only I reign supreme. Ninth Prince, Princess Jianu, Sir Sage, let's go and register first. At the back, more than a dozen young men walked forward and spoke to Wang Xian and the rest. They immediately walked in. For this martial arts competition, anyone under the age of 150 can participate. However, the competition is divided into 2 zones. One is a young man under the age of 50, and the other is above the age of 50. Those at the insightful void level can skip the earlier stages of the competition and participate in the later stages of the competition directly. Ling Jian explained to Wang Xian from the side. All right, let's go in and take a look. Wang Xian nodded his head. He looked at his surroundings with a curious expression and walked in. The martial arts competition that was held once every 2 years by the Solitaire Sect was definitely not something that could be compared to the selection of disciples from some empires or second-rate forces. As one of the 3 super forces in the vast region, the competition venue was extremely grand. In the middle of 2 mountains that were 4,000 to 5,000 meters tall, there were many arenas floating in the sky. There were more than 10,000 arenas around them. At the front, there were many huge seats floating in the sky. Come, let's fly over to the front. The 9th Prince's expression was not too good. He squeezed out a smile and said to Wang Xian and the rest, "Okay." The group of people from the Bingxin Empire flew over and headed to the front. As the Bingxin Empire was closer to the Solitaire Sect, their position was at the right of the Solitaire Sect. The group of people flew over. Wang Xian, Ling Jian, Wu Qingcheng, and the rest sat in the center while Bing Jinghuan sat at the side with a gloomy face. Looking over, there were many young men filled with fighting spirit in the huge arena. Boom, 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 boom. Not long after they sat down, terrifying auras rushed over from afar. Feeling the overwhelming aura, the hundreds of thousands of people around quieted down. Everyone looked over in awe. Hundreds of figures flew over quickly. The 2 elders in the lead were at the 7th level of the Profound Void tier and the 2 elders of the Solitaire Sect. Around them were deacons and disciples. There were disciples participating in the competition as well as disciples watching the battle. The most eye-catching ones were the 3 people beside the 2 elders. 2 of them were the 2 peerless heavens favorites of Solitaire. In the center of them was a middle-aged man. Compared to the 2 heavens and earth's favorites who wore golden crowns, the middle-aged man in the center was even more high-profile. He had a handsome face, long hair, and a resplendent crown on his head. In the center of the crown, there were 4 resplendent golden words, Supreme Heaven. He looked down arrogantly in front of him, as if he didn't care about this world. The middle-aged man in the middle of the two heavens favorites is called Aotion. He is the son of the supreme leader of our sect. He is in his 130s and has the cultivation of the 5th level of the see-through void tier. He is highly regarded by the powerhouses of our sect. There is a high possibility that he could reach the 9th level of the see-through void tier. Wu Qingqing saw Wang Xian looking at the middle-aged man and whispered to him, "Oh, he is only at the 5th level of the see-through void tier in his 130s. He is even weaker than you." Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Hee, of course, he can't be compared to Priest Wang and us." Wu Qingqing smiled. His current strength had already broken through to level 4 of the see-through realm. He was extremely confident that he would be able to break through to level 1 or even level 2 in the next few decades. The members of the solipsistic sect flew towards the seats that were floating in the air at the front. The Crown Prince of Wuqing City from Wuji Empire is here. Aotion, go and entertain him. 2 elders of the 7th level of the see-through realm sat in the middle. One of the elders scanned the area and immediately sent a voice transmission to Aotion when he realized that Wuqing City was here. The one beside him should be Priest Wang, who is currently in the limelight. Go and greet him too. The other elder looked over and shifted his gaze to Wang Xian. Oh, Wuqing City is here? And the Saint of Light? Aotion, who was emitting a domineering aura, looked over. His eyes were sparkling. Let's go and pay our respects. He swept his gaze across the 2 heavens pride experts in the sky and earth beside him and said faintly, "The Crown Prince of Wuji Empire and the Saint of Light who was at level 7 of the see-through void stage. Even Ao Shiling Yun from their sect would follow the proper etiquette." That damn guy. When the 2 heavens pride experts saw Wang Xian, hatred appeared on their faces. If you have the ability, you can kill Priest Wang directly. If you don't have the ability, forget it. Aotion sensed the anger of the 2 heavens pride experts and said calmly, "Senior brother, we know that one day, we will kill him." The 2 heavens favorites took a deep breath and hid their killing intent as they spoke in a deep voice. "Okay." Aotion nodded his head. His figure moved as he looked at Wang Xian and Wuqing City. "Priest Wang, Wuqing City. I didn't expect the 2 of you to come to our exclusive venue." Aotion had a faint smile on his face as he shouted at them. "The Crown Prince of Wuqing City is here? The Sage is here too? There, I didn't expect the Crown Prince and Priest Wang to be here." Everyone around was slightly shocked and quickly looked over. When they saw their figures, their faces were filled with respect and reverence. Hee, accompany Priest Wang to take a look. Wu Qingqing saw them flying over and stood up with a smile. "This must be Pastor Wang Xian of the Saint of Light. I've heard so much about him." Aotion sized up Wang Xian and said faintly, "I've heard so much about you." Wang Xian also looked at him and said faintly, "I've heard so much about you. I hope Pastor Wang won't bully my junior brothers." As Aotion spoke, he glanced at the 2 heavens pride experts beside him. "I won't offend anyone if they don't offend me. I don't have the habit of provoking others." Wang Xian smiled. "Ich just you wait. One day, we will use your blood to avenge ourselves." When the 2 heavens pride experts heard Wang Xian's words, the killing intent in their eyes was completely released. They growled coldly in a low voice. Wang Xian could feel the killing intent from their bodies. His pupils contracted slightly as he looked at Aotion indifferently. "Your junior brother is courting death." A warning sounded, causing everyone from the Bingxin Empire to hold their breaths. Bing Jinghuan's eyes flickered. Aotion also contracted slightly when he heard Wang Xian's question. A hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. "Aotion, are you bringing people here to cause trouble? Is this the way of treating guests of your only sect?" Wu Qingqing looked at this scene and said with a faint frown, Chapter 1575. 1575 Under the betrayal of the 1575 Iceheart dynasty. We will naturally treat our friends well. However, if they are not friends... Ao Tian squinted his eyes and looked at Wang Xian when he heard Wu Qingcheng's words. He laughed and did not finish his sentence. As the most outstanding son of the supreme leader of the only sect and the future supreme leader of the only sect, only a few people from the Wuji dynasty and the southern royal family could really catch his attention in the entire vast region. He didn't care about anyone else, even Priest Wang, who was currently in the limelight in the vast region. In the vast region, no matter how monstrous he was, he couldn't defeat the solipsistic sect. Is it Priest Wang? Ao Tian looked at Wang Xian and asked faintly in the end. I agree with what you said. Friends have wine and meat, enemies have swords. Wang Xian looked at Ao Tian with a smile on his face. Ao Tian, the match is about to start. Don't disturb us from watching the match. Wu Qingcheng, who was at the side, sensed a hint of anger from Wang Xian and said to Ao Tian immediately. Good, good, good. Ao Tian stared at Wang Xian with a wicked smile on his lips. He looked at Wu Qingcheng and flew straight ahead. Ao Tian is as arrogant as his name suggests. He doesn't put anyone in his eyes. In fact, everyone in our sect is unlikable. They act like I'm the best in the world. Priest Wang, it's best if you don't get into a big conflict with them. As long as you don't offend them completely, Ao Tian won't be able to do anything to you. Seeing Ao Tian leave, Wu Qingcheng reminded Wang Xian softly. Don't worry, I won't offend anyone if they don't offend me. Wang Xian smiled at Wu Qingcheng. Ao Tian didn't put him in his eyes. Naturally, he didn't put Ao Tian in his eyes either. Unless someone was stronger than him, no one had the right to be arrogant with him. That Priest Wang is indeed as arrogant as the rumors say. Ao Tian returned to his seat in the void. His gaze swept across Wang Xian as he spoke with a cold expression. He doesn't even put senior brother in his eyes. This fellow. The two Heaven's Pride experts in the sky and on the ground looked at him with murderous intent as they growled in a low voice. All right. This fellow is very strong and has been conferred the title of the Saint of Light by the Wuji Empire. We can't do anything to him for the time being. Ao Tian glanced at the two of them with a cold expression as he looked towards the direction of the arena with an expressionless face. Even if he was the most outstanding son of the supreme leader of the only sect, it was impossible for him to mobilize a level 8 see-through void martial artist to kill a level 7 see-through void martial artist. Unless the other party harmed the only sect or killed the disciples of the only sect. When the two heavens favorites saw Ao Tian's cold expression, they quickly shut up and sat there with a gloomy face. When Ao Tian came to talk to Wang Xian and the rest, the competition on the arena had already begun. 20 arenas and 40 people were fighting at the same time. Wang Xian didn't have much interest in watching the battles on the arena. A battle between cultivators below the void interpretation stage was no different from a battle between children. However, what surprised Wang Xian was that the arena where the lone tyrant was fighting was much more bloody than some ordinary battles. In the first round of the 40-man competition, 5 people were killed on the spot. If you find it boring, let's go out for a walk. You can come back when I'm in the arena. After watching for the entire morning, Ling Jian noticed that Wang Xian was not in the mood. She said to him with a smile on her face. All right, by the way, we haven't walked around the ruins of the kingdom of God yet. Wang Xian nodded immediately and said with a smile. Oh, Priest Wang, do you guys want to go for a stroll? I'll treat you guys to a meal then. You guys can have fun in the afternoon. I won't be a third wheel anymore. Wu Qingcheng heard their conversation and said with a smile. All right. Wang Xian looked at Ling Jian and nodded. Let's go. The three of them left the competition venue and flew towards the outside. At the back, Bing Jinghuan clenched his fists tightly when he saw Ling Jian and Wang Xian leaving. After Wang Xian and the rest left, Wu Qingsheng brought the two of them to the most famous restaurant in the ruins of the Divine Kingdom. The three of them had lunch together. More than an hour later, Wang Xian and Ling Jian are left alone. Wu Qingsheng frowned and knocked on the table as he watched Wang Xian and Ling Jian leave. "Uncle Jing, what do you think of this priest Wang?" he asked curiously. "Crown Prince, it's hard to say how many, but this young man is not afraid of anyone." Beside Wu Qingsheng, a voice rang out. "That's right. This priest Wang is good in every way, but he doesn't know how to fear. Forget it, as long as he doesn't provoke the Lone Sect and the Southern royal family, I will lend a hand when he is in danger in the future. It can be considered as repaying him for saving his life." Wu Qingsheng shook his head and got up to leave. After spending the afternoon with Ling Jian in some famous places in the ruins of the Divine Kingdom and sending him back to his residence, Wang Xian turned around and left. "Priest Wang, right?" At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Wang Xian, causing his pupils to constrict slightly. It was an old man, a stooped old man. He was holding a black magic staff in his hand. He looked no different from an ordinary old man. However, his sudden appearance in front of Wang Xian before Wang Xian could even sense him proved that this stooped old man was not simple. "This old man, what's the matter?" Wang Xian's eyes revealed a hint of seriousness as he sized him up and asked. "I heard that Priest Wang is able to expel the soul of darkness, so I would like to ask for his help." The stooped old man stared at Wang Xian and said faintly, "Expel the soul of darkness? As long as there is sufficient reward, I will naturally do my best." Wang Xian looked at the old man and said with a smile, "The reward is a little hard to come by now. After you are cured, I will compensate you." The old man said calmly, "Compensate? Old man, how can such a good thing happen?" Wang Xian shook his head in amusement and walked straight ahead. "Then I have no choice but to offend you." The hunchbacked old man shook his head and appeared beside Wang Xian in a flash. His pair of skeletal claws clawed at Wang Xian's shoulder. "Pa! Old man, this is not how you seek medical treatment. Do you believe that I can immediately detonate the darkness soul in your body?" A ferocious dragon claw grabbed onto the old man's arm. The powerful force caused the old man's arm to tremble slightly. Wang Xian looked at the incredulous look on the old man's face and said mockingly, You are not at level 7 of the void interpretation stage." The old man stared at Wang Xian with his turbid eyes. "Get lost." Wang Xian shouted coldly. A white light flashed sharply on his pair of dragon claws. In an instant, the old man's expression changed drastically. His pupils revealed a look of horror. The next moment, he couldn't help but spit out a large mouthful of blood. His body started to tremble violently. Chapter 1576. 1576 1576. What did you do to me? You actually broke the energy that was suppressing the dark soul in my body. The stooped old man's face was pale as he stared at Wang Xian in fear. His body trembled as he spoke. "Be a good cripple." Wang Xian took a glance at the stooped old man. His arm returned to its human form and gave him a gentle push. The hunchbacked old man staggered and fell to the ground at the side. His face was filled with panic. "Oh, Pastor Wang, save me, save me." The hunchbacked old man watched Wang Xian leave and became completely flustered. He shouted at Wang Xian with a face full of fear. However, Wang Xian ignored him and walked into the distance. A powerhouse who was invaded by the soul of darkness came to him for treatment. He even wanted to use force. Wang Xian naturally wouldn't let him off easily. The soul of darkness that was suppressed in his body was directly knocked away by Wang Xian. If the soul of darkness were to crash into his body again, the old man would become a cripple. However, this old ancestor's strength was once at the peak of the 8th level of the see-through void tier. Wang Xian narrowed his eyes slightly. He did not kill the old man because of this. "Save me, save me." The hunchbacked old man roared with a face full of pain. His face was extremely ferocious. He felt a little regretful. Why did he have to use force? Now that he couldn't act cool, he was killed instead. 8th level of the Void Interpretation Stage. 8th level of the Void Interpretation Stage. With his strength, he can definitely get rid of the dark soul in my body and return me to my peak. No, no. As the hunchbacked old man spoke, he gritted his teeth and wanted to chase after Wang Xian's figure. However, Wang Xian's figure had already disappeared. This made him stand there in despair. His body was trembling nonstop. Pastor Wang, save me. Please save me. It was my fault yesterday. Please. The next day, when Wang Xian arrived in front of Ling Jianyar's courtyard, the old man from yesterday ran over and pleaded in fear and trepidation. You're still waiting here. This means that you're not from a big faction. Are you alone? No matter who you are, you'd better not bother me. Otherwise, I won't have any scruples even if I kill you. Wang Xian glanced at the old man coldly. Asking you to show off yesterday and threaten me with force. In the past, you were at least a peerless powerhouse at level 8 of the see-through void tier. Now, Wang Xian shook his head in disdain and came to Ling Jian'er's courtyard. For the next 2 days, Wang Xian and Ling Jian'er visited some scenic spots in the ruins of the Divine Kingdom. The two of them seemed to have become a couple. On the 4th day, Ling Jian'er's turn came for the solitaire martial arts competition of the Solitaire sect. The solitaire martial arts competition would select the first and second Peerless Heavens favorites under the age of 50 and be conferred the title of Heavens and Earth's 2 Heavens favorites. The current Heavens and Earth's young masters were the previous Heavens favorites. However, the current Heavens and Earth's 2 Heavens favorites had occupied this title for more than a decade. With the strength of Heavens and Earth's young masters, unless they were over the age of 50, no one would be able to defeat them. However, it was not necessarily the case for this competition. Wang Xian sat on the spectator stand and watched Ling Jian'er's battle with a young man at the 2nd level of the Insight Void stage with a smile on his face. This young man was a disciple of the solipsistic sect. With his strength at the 2nd level of the see-through realm, he was equivalent to the number 1 person under the heaven and earth. In the arena, he stared at Ling Jian'er coldly and looked down arrogantly. Under the orders of his 2 senior brothers in heaven and earth, he would make this girl extremely embarrassed in this battle. Begin! The deacon at the side shouted softly and announced the start of the competition. Bing Jian'er, right? Wait a moment, I will. Whoosh! That disciple originally wanted to use words to humiliate Ling Jian'er, but he did not expect that the other party's golden light would directly attack him. Looks like I have to teach you a good lesson. Seeing that the golden light was attacking him, that disciple raised his palm with a cold expression. A huge green palm directly attacked the golden light. Pooh pooh pooh. However, the golden light easily pierced through the green palm and continued to attack the disciple. What? The disciple's expression changed. He waved his hand and a gust of green wind surrounded his body as he dodged to the side. So. However, at this moment, the golden light split open and instantly struck the disciple. Ah! A miserable cry came from the disciple's mouth. What? He killed senior brother Lai Feng in one move. That Bing Jian'er's strength is so terrifying. My God, he killed her in one move. How is this possible? Could it be that Bing Jian'er has the cultivation of the 3rd level of the profound void martial stage? What a terrifying woman. Is there going to be a change in the heaven and earth's prodigies this year? When Ling Jian'er easily defeated the 2 heaven and earth's prodigies, everyone had shocked expressions on their faces. Another peerless prodigy had risen. How is this possible? She is so powerful. On the stage at the very front, when the 2 heaven and earth's prodigies saw that Ling Jian'er had actually killed Lai Feng in an instant, their expressions were incomparably grave. Lai Feng's strength was only 1 level lower than theirs, yet he was actually killed in an instant. Even they couldn't kill him so easily. So strong, this woman is really a strange woman. Ao Tian's gaze flickered as he looked at Ling Jian'er, his eyes filled with shock. This Bing Jian'er seems to have a very good relationship with that priest Wang, right? Ao Tian slightly narrowed his eyes and said indifferently. It's senior brother. It's this girl. She's the last disciple of the patriarch of the Bingxin dynasty, the adopted daughter of the Bingxin king. That priest Wang has been pursuing her. I heard that priest Wang came to the vast area for her. We wanted to let Lai Feng teach Bing Jian'er a lesson and embarrass that priest Wang, but we didn't expect. The two heavens favorites in the sky and on the ground spoke in a low voice, their faces filled with embarrassment. A heavens favorite. In the entire vast region, there isn't such an outstanding heavens favorite. Moreover, she's a virgin, tsk. Ao Tian's eyes flickered as he looked at Ling Jian'er with a hint of greed and possessiveness in his eyes. As the supreme force of the only sect, the son of the only sect leader, he had seen too many beautiful women. In his eyes, beautiful women were just playthings that were slightly beautiful. However, this Ling Jian'er was different. Only such a beauty can be worthy of me. Ao Tian mumbled softly. His gaze swept across Wang Xian, who was sitting on the seat, and the corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Call Bing Jinghuan from the Bingxin Empire over. Ao Tian said plainly to the two heavens favorites in the sky and earth beside him. The two of them were stunned when they heard Ao Tian's words. Their faces were filled with shock. Then their eyes lit up. Yes, it's senior brother. Only such a heavens favorite is worthy of senior brother. That priest Wang, what right does he have to compare with you? As the two of them spoke, they moved and flew towards Bing Jinghuan. Chapter 1577. 1577. We pay our respects to young Master Ao Tian. In front of the empty seats in front of the competition, Bing Jinghuan followed behind the two heavens favorites and bowed respectfully to Ao Tian. Just the two heavens favorites were enough to make him bow and scrape, let alone Ao Tian, the son of the supreme headmaster of our sect. Ao Tian sat on the chair and glanced at Bing Jinghuan. His gaze landed on Ling Jian'er, who flew out from the arena. Your Bing Jian'er from the Bing Xian Empire is very good. He was not stingy with his praise and his face was full of smiles. Bing Jinghuan was slightly stunned when he heard Ao Tian's words. He immediately squeezed out a smile. She is very strong. Even I am not her match now. When he saw Ao Tian staring at Bing Jian'er's figure, he suddenly had a guess. He was slightly shocked and his eyes were shining. I used to like Bing Jian'er, but father now wants to set her up with that priest Wang. He pursed his lips and stopped. A priest of light is not worthy of such a proud daughter. Ao Tian said indifferently. This is also arranged by my imperial father. I have no choice. Bing Jinghuan lowered her head slightly and said bitterly. The light in her eyes was somewhat dazzling. Bing Jinghuan, go and tell your imperial father that I have taken a liking to that Bing Jian'er lady. I will ask my father to propose marriage to your Ice Heart Empire. As Ao Tian said this, a smile appeared on his face. Such a proud daughter of the heavens can only be worthy of me, Tian. As soon as he finished speaking, a strong sense of self-confidence and an aura of superiority emanated from his body. Bing Jinghuan took 2 steps back due to the impact of his aura. His expression changed slightly and he quickly nodded. It's young Master Ao Tian. I will go back immediately and pass your message to father. As he spoke, his gaze shifted to the back. Seeing how intimate Wang Xian and Ling Jian'er were, he was filled with jealousy. If I can't get it, don't even think about getting it. I'll see what you can do about the person that young Master Ao Tian wants. His expression was ferocious as he roared in his heart. A twisted smile appeared on his face. Bing Jinghuan's figure moved and he immediately flew towards the location of the Bingxin Empire. Jian'er, it looks like you will be the first place in this competition. Wang Xian looked at Ling Jian'er and said with a smile on his face, "Of course, I will let you see it during the finals tomorrow. I will definitely be the most dazzling one here." Ling Jian'er raised her head slightly and said proudly, "All right, when you win, I will give you a gift and a surprise." Wang Xian stroked her head lovingly and said happily. After spending the past few days together, Ling Jian'er's heart clearly belonged to him. As long as he wanted to confess, given her current character, she would definitely not reject him. "All right, I'll be waiting for your gift and surprise." Ling Jian'er's face was filled with joy as she nodded. The two of them walked out on foot. That Bing Jian'er from the Ice Heart Empire's strength is really terrifying. Why don't you take a look at whose woman that is? It's the woman of the Saint of Light, the priest of the Sage King. She has all sorts of cultivation resources and can be compared to a core disciple of a super faction. Priest Wang is also a monstrous existence. Bing Jian'er is naturally not too far off. A match made in heaven, a perfect match. As the two of them walked on the road, the discussions of other young men could be heard from time to time. Ling Jian'er did not get angry when she heard these voices. Instead, she was secretly delighted. Wang Xian was in a good mood when he saw her expression. However, what Wang Xian and Ling Jian'er did not expect was that Bing Jinghuan was standing in front of the king of Bingxin Empire in a room in the Bingxin Empire complex. In the room, apart from the king of Bingxin, there were two other elders. Sitting in the middle was an energetic white-haired elder. The elder seemed to be in a good mood. "Jinghuan, why are you in such a hurry to come over? What's the matter?" The king of Bingxin looked at Bing Jinghuan and asked curiously. "Father, ancestor, it's young Master Ao Tian who asked me to come over. There's something he wants me to tell father." Bing Jinghuan lowered his head and said respectfully, "Young Master Ao Tian? What is it?" The king of Bingxin immediately asked in surprise. "Young Master Ao Tian has taken a fancy to junior sister Jian. He asked me to tell you that soon he will ask the supreme headmaster to propose marriage to our Bingxin dynasty." Bing Jinghuan pursed his lips and said, "What?" Bingxin King was slightly stunned, his face full of astonishment. The two old men beside him also slightly raised their eyebrows, full of surprise. Today, junior sister Jian killed a disciple of the second rank of the Profound Void sect in one move. With her strength, I'm afraid that she is not even as good as the two heavens favorites in the sky and the earth. In addition, junior sister Jian is beautiful. Young Master Outyan said that only the daughter of the heavens favorites is worthy of him. Bing Jinghuan continued. This? King Bing Xian's expression changed slightly, and he frowned. Young Master Ao Tian really said that? Yes, father. Perhaps soon, only our sect will be the supreme leader of the sect and propose a marriage. Bing Jinghuan nodded. When I saved Jian I found that her talent was extraordinary. She will definitely be extraordinary in the future. I didn't expect that she could suppress the proud son of heaven of only our sect in just a few months. No wonder young master of only our sect was so moved. But what about Priest Wang? A long-haired elder beside the white-haired elder said with a frown. If it were any other time, they would be very happy if the young master of our sect, Ao Tian, took a fancy to Bing Jian. But now, there was a Priest Wang. In their opinion, although that Priest Wang was far inferior to the young master of Ao Tian, after all, he had also saved an ancestor of their Icy Heart Empire. Restoring his strength to the 8th level of the Profound Void tier was a huge favor. Big brother, what do you think? The long-haired old man looked at the white-haired old man and asked softly. This? The white-haired old man was slightly hesitant. He was cured by Wang Xian, but he was leaning towards young Master Ao Tian in his heart. Young Master Ao Tian had an 80% chance of becoming the sect leader of the solipsistic sect in the future. As for Priest Wang, he was merely a relatively powerful priest. There was still a huge gap between the two. Jian marrying the young lord of Ao Tian would be of great benefit to the Icy Heart dynasty. Father, Patriarch, the relationship between the young lord of Aotian and priest Wang isn't very good. A few days ago, there was almost a conflict. Fortunately, the crown prince of Wuching City was present at that time. Bing Jinghuan looked at the hesitant expressions of the patriarch and his father and added on from the side. Oh, that priest Wang actually dared to provoke Aotian? The white-haired elder raised his eyebrows and asked in surprise. Patriarch, according to our understanding of priest Wang, he is a fearless person. He used to fight against the two heavens pride experts of our sect. He didn't give face to the crown prince of Wuching City at all. He didn't even fear the Wuji dynasty. It's said that he doesn't know fear, but it can also be said that he doesn't know what's good for him. He is a bit arrogant and arrogant. Ice Heart King said lightly. Chapter 1578. 1578 1578 dragons have a reverse scale 1. Somewhat arrogant, somewhat insolent. This was the evaluation of the king of Bingxin Empire towards Wang Xian. In the room, the two patriarchs of Bingxin Empire were sitting there quietly, deep in thought. Big brother, what do you think? The long-haired elder said to the white-haired elder. Although that priest Wang is powerful and has great potential, his character is destined to cause him to provoke many enemies. Now that he has even provoked Aotian, this is not a good thing. For our Bingxin dynasty, young master Aotian is the better choice. After a long silence, the white-haired elder said calmly. I also think that the supreme chief's son is the best choice. It will be extremely beneficial for the future of our Bingxin dynasty. No matter what, Priest Wang has cured Big Brother's illness for decades. We can't be too ungrateful. The long-haired elder nodded slowly at the side. Since young Master Outyin has spoken, it's not easy for us to refuse. Especially if the supreme sect leader proposes marriage, with the supreme status of our sect, we can't refuse either. Since that's the case, we'll betroth Jian to young Master Outyin. This is also a better choice for Jian. As for Priest Wang, he can choose any beauty from the Bingxin dynasty. A smile slowly appeared on Bingxin King's face as he looked at the two ancestors and suggested. Alright, in that case, let's go to the venue where I am the only one. If Jian can really obtain the first place tomorrow, it will be of even greater benefit to our Bingxin dynasty. Ha! The long-haired elder stood up and said with a smile. The white-haired elder and Bingxin King nodded with smiles on their faces. The matter had already been settled. Bing Jinghuan, who was standing in front, revealed a cold smile on his face, filled with schadenfreude. Jian, let's go. Master will bring you to the venue where I rule supreme. The next morning, the Bingxin King, the two ancestors, and Bing Jinghuan came to the front of Ling Jianyar's courtyard and called out to Ling Jian. Master? Ling Jianyar walked out. When she saw her ancestors and the top experts of the Bingxin dynasty, she was stunned. Master, why are you here? She asked curiously. Why? Can't you come and see my outstanding disciple? The long-haired old man smiled and shouted happily. Zojin, we will take you there. We hope that you can get the first place today. By then, the Bingxin dynasty will be proud. After today's battle, Father will give you a big surprise. King Bingxin said with a smile. Thank you, Your Majesty. Ling Jianyar nodded with a smile. Let's go. King Bingxin nodded and said directly. Wait, Your Majesty. Wang Xian hasn't arrived yet. He should be here soon. Ling Jianyar looked outside and said. Jian, let's rush over first. Pastor Wang knows the place. The long-haired elder frowned slightly and said with a smile. That's fine. Ling Jianyar nodded slightly and followed the people of the Bingxin Empire towards the place where I am the only one who knows martial arts. Little brother Wang Xian, are you confident that Jianyar will acknowledge me as his father? At this moment, on the way to Ling Jianyar's courtyard, sect leader Ling looked at Wang Xian and said nervously. Sect leader Ling, don't be nervous. Jian can't recognize you now, but you can take your time to nurture her. Wang Xian smiled at sect leader Ling. During this period of time, Ling Jian had gradually accepted him. Naturally, he wanted her to get to know sect leader Ling. Even if they couldn't recover their father-daughter relationship, at least sect leader Ling would be happier and feel more at ease. Pastor Wang, I was wrong. I was wrong. As long as you save me, I'm willing to do anything you want me to do. At this moment, an old voice suddenly came from the side. Sect leader Ling frowned slightly and looked to the left. An old man with a stooped figure, who looked like a beggar who was about to die at any moment, begged Wang Xian. Don't pretend to be so pitiful. Find a safe place to spend the rest of your life. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the old man. There was no trace of pity in his eyes. He would naturally not rescue a person who wanted to threaten him. The hunchbacked old man looked at Wang Xian's determined look and his eyes were filled with gloom. He watched Wang Xian walk forward and followed closely behind him. Sage, Princess Jian has followed the king and the old ancestor to the venue where I rule supreme. When Wang Xian arrived in front of Ling Jian's courtyard, a maid said to him, "Oh, she has already gone?" Wang Xian frowned slightly and nodded. He looked at sect leader Ling and said, "Jian has already gone. Let's go too." All right. Sect leader Ling nodded and followed Wang Xian to the venue. Behind them, the stooped old man followed behind with determination in his eyes. He planned to waste his time with Wang Xian. Even if he had to give up on the dignity of a powerhouse, he had to get Wang Xian to treat him. Otherwise, his life would be over. So many people. When sect leader Ling and Wang Xian arrived at the venue in the middle of the two mountain peaks, sect leader Ling looked around in astonishment. More than 100,000 people gathered around. Judging from their strength, they were much stronger than the Luhai region. There are naturally many people in the martial arts competition of the solitaire sect. This is also because there are many people who are not qualified to enter. Otherwise, there would be millions and millions of people. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the surroundings. The last day of the solitaire sect martial arts competition was also the day of the finals. It was much livelier than the beginning. Around the arena, there were many big shots and experts. Especially the seat at the front of the competition, which was filled with many empty seats at the beginning. The two experts at level 7 of the see-through realm, who were hosting the first day, sat to the side and changed into two old men in cyan robes. Sect leader Ling, let's go. Wang Xian's gaze swept across the area. When he saw that there was no sign of Ling Jian, he was slightly curious. Little brother Wang Xian over there. Jian is over there. At this moment, sect leader Ling pointed to the front seat and said with a face full of surprise. Wang Xian looked over and saw that the Bingxin Empire and Ling Jian were sitting at the seat of the lone sect. The two patriarchs of the Bingxin Empire were conversing with the two green-robed elders. Sect leader Ling, let's sit over there first. Wang Xian looked over. Without much thought, he came to the seat where the Bingxin Empire used to sit. He had just sat down when Ling Jian noticed their arrival and waved at him. Wang Xian smiled and waved back with a smile on his face. He, Jian has become much more cheerful. Sect leader Ling looked at her daughter with tears in her eyes as she said excitedly, "Don't worry, sect leader Ling, I will bring Jian back. I will make her acknowledge you as her father." Wang Xian looked at sect leader Ling and promised. Chapter 1579. 1579 Dragon 1579 has a reverse scale too. Jian, young master Aotion is here. You should have a good chat with him later. On the stage at the front, King Bingxin saw Ling Jian greeting Wang Xian. He frowned slightly and spoke to her. Young Master Aotion. Ling Jian was stunned for a moment before nodding her head. Yes, Your Majesty. I understand. the son of the supreme sect leader of the only sect, could possibly inherit the position of sect leader in the future, so she naturally knew that she could not provoke him. She looked behind her and saw the long-haired young master of Aotion, who was wearing the 4 golden crowns of the only sect leader, flying over. An arrogant aura blew over. Young master of Aotion. Young master of Aotion. Ling Jian, Bing Jinghuan, and the others stood up and greeted Aotion. You are welcome. Looking at Sister Jian up close, she is really beautiful. Aotion sized up Ling Jian from top to bottom and did not conceal his words at all. Young master Aotion is too modest. Ling Jian felt his gaze and frowned imperceptibly as she said indifferently. Sister Jian, you don't have to be modest. In the entire vast region, among the women of this generation, who can compare to Sister Jian? Ha! Aotion smiled and walked to the seat beside Ling Jian and sat down. Sister Jian, in the competition later, you might be able to defeat all the disciples of our lone sect. He smiled and said to Ling Jian. Ling Jian nodded her head indifferently and didn't reply. She looked towards Wang Xian's seat. This caused Aotion, who was at the side, to show a hint of displeasure in his eyes. His gaze turned cold. Soon, the competition began, and one by one, the young prodigies stepped onto the stage. Since the start of the competition until today, all of the participants were at the profound void tier. This caused the blood of many of the surrounding youths to boil, and they cheered loudly. Aotion would occasionally say a few words to Ling Jian, but in the end, all he received were indifferent and absent-minded replies. This caused Aotion's expression to become colder and colder. When the king of Bingxin saw this, his expression turned ugly as well. Jian, it's your turn. More than an hour later, the king of Bingxin said to Ling Jian with a smile on his face. Yes, your majesty. I will get the first place. Ling Jian nodded her head with a determined expression. Her body moved and she flew towards the arena. In midair, she looked towards Wang Xian and gave him a sweet smile. Bing Jianyar has entered the arena. I wonder who will win in a battle with young Master Tian. With the strength that Bing Jianyar has displayed, it's obvious that she will be able to win. I really didn't expect that a woman of her generation would be able to reach the top of the young generation in the vast region. Now, I'm a little envious of Reverend Wang. If such a woman can be obtained, it would be a great fortune. Then you have to have Reverend Wang's strength as well. Wake up, stop dreaming. Ling Jianyar's appearance caused a heated discussion among the surrounding people. A woman had the chance to obtain first place in the competition of the lone sect. In the entire vast region, she was also the first person in thousands of years. Now, there were already people who called her the daughter of heaven's pride, the peerless daughter. With Jian Er's current strength, she can already kill a powerhouse at level 4 of the see-through void. That young Master Tian is completely no match for Jian. Wang Xian looked at Ling Jianyar's figure and said to Sect Leader Ling, He good good good. Sect Leader Ling's eyes were glued to her as she watched happily. Young Master Aotion, after the martial arts competition ends, our Bingxin Empire will announce that Jian will be betrothed to you. Jian has a cold personality and does not like to talk to strangers. However, as long as you communicate with him frequently, with your outstanding qualities, Jian will definitely fall in love with you in the future. At the front seat, the king of Bingxin looked at Aotion, who had an ugly expression, and said with a smile. Of course, in the entire vast region, there are not many people who can compare to me. Aotion felt much better after hearing the king of Bingxin's words. He raised his head proudly. Of course, of course. The king of Bingxin nodded with a smile. My father also wants to see what kind of woman can make his son admire her. Aotion took out a mirror and threw it into the sky with a smile. At the same time, on a mountain tens of thousands of kilometers away, there was a mountain peak that reached into the clouds. Each mountain peak was extremely steep and gave off a green light. In a cave on the mountain peak, An old man was sitting cross-legged in a luxurious room. The old man was wearing a green robe and there was a vertical scar between his eyebrows. He gave off an aura that transcended all living things. Haha, I want to see what kind of outstanding woman can actually make our Tian-er's heart move. The old man looked forward. There was a 1-meter-wide mirror there. In the mirror, the scene of the supreme stage tens of thousands of miles away was completely displayed. Husband, I have already checked. She is an extremely outstanding woman. I can't find another one in the entire vast region. A graceful and elegant lady was leaning on the old man's side and she said with a smile, Our Tian-er is already over 100 years old. It is time for her to find a wife. There are very few ladies in the world who are worthy of our Tian. This is not bad. The old man smiled and looked at the stage in the mirror. Let's take a look first. On the stage, the match began. However, what shocked everyone was that at the start of the match, Ling Jian'er had defeated the two Heaven's favorites in one move. The most outstanding Heaven's favorite disciple of our sect. One move, just one move. Looking at the battle in the mirror, the old man was stunned. Ah, good. What a rare lady, what a rare lady. Following that, the old man stood up with a face full of joy and shouted loudly. If others saw this, they would definitely be shocked. Because this person was the 3 most powerful peerless experts in the vast region. The Supreme Headmaster, a rank 9 insightful void martial artist. As expected of the woman that Tian-er took a fancy to. At such a young age, she already has battle strength comparable to a rank 4 insightful void martial artist. She is even more outstanding than our Tian-er, good. The Supreme Headmaster laughed heartily, his face full of smiles. Only a woman like this has the qualifications to be our daughter-in-law. Husband, we must definitely capture such an outstanding daughter-in-law in our hands. The woman at the side also spoke with a face full of joy. This is natural. As long as Tian-er has taken a fancy to her, there is nothing that cannot be obtained in the vast region. I will ask them to immediately bring this woman over. The Supreme Headmaster said straightforwardly. At the same time, he waved his arm and an object that looked like an imperial edict flew out. During the flight, lines of words appeared on it. The imperial edict landed on the peak of a mountain outside and disappeared. At the same time, in the Supreme Headmaster's venue, everyone was shocked. Chapter 1580. 1581,580 dragons had reverse scale 3. Oh my god, instant kill. She actually killed young noble Tian in a single move. Just how strong is Bing Jian'er? This is too terrifying. She defeated the most outstanding disciple of our sect in a single move. How heaven-defying. She is definitely not only at the 3rd level of the profound void martial stage. Her battle prowess should have reached the 4th level of the profound void martial stage. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to kill young noble Tian in a single move. Everyone was stunned. At this moment, in the arena surrounding the venue, when everyone saw Ling Jian'er defeating young noble Tian in a single move. After a few seconds of silence, the entire venue was in an uproar. With such monstrous talent, even the Crown Prince of Wuching City and young Master Nangong Wudi are far from it. The number 1 lady in the vast region. After today, Bing Jian'er will definitely be famous throughout the vast region. The shocked voice caused the entire venue to become extremely noisy. In the middle of the arena, young Master Tian stared blankly at the ice-cold Ling Jian'er in front of him. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and his eyes were filled with shock. He was the top-notch Heaven's Pride disciple in the vast region. He was actually instantly killed by a female. How was this possible? Hiss. At the front, all the disciples of the solitaire sect sucked in a breath of cold air, their eyes filled with shock. The deacons and elders were also filled with shock. The strongest disciple they had nurtured was actually instantly killed by a woman. Ha, good. The The patriarch and monarch of the Iceheart Empire were slightly stunned before they shouted out with a face full of laughter. Their faces were filled with excitement. The stronger Ling Jian was, the more benefits they would receive. She is actually so outstanding. As expected of the lady that Aotion have taken a fancy to. Ha! Aotion also stood up with a face full of excitement as he stared at Ling Jian with eyes full of possessiveness. Wang. At this moment, a hexagram suddenly appeared in the middle of the arena. Following that, a scroll that looked like an imperial edict appeared and floated in the air. It's the teleportation array of the only sect. Ancient array, long-distance teleportation. Some people were slightly shocked when they saw the hexagram that suddenly lit up and exclaimed, "The scroll of the supreme sect leader." In the center, two green-robed elders waved their arms when they saw the scroll that suddenly appeared. The scroll that looked like an imperial edict flew towards them. "Grand elders, what did my father say?" Aotion immediately walked over with a smile on his face. One of the green-robed elders opened the scroll and scanned the words on it with a smile. "Aotion, it's the Supreme Headmaster announcing your marriage." The green-robed elder smiled and glanced at the two patriarchs of the Iceheart dynasty. "Grand elders, what does the Supreme Headmaster say?" The white-haired elder and the long-haired elder's eyes flashed with anticipation as they immediately asked. "The Supreme Headmaster is very satisfied. Let's proceed with the competition first. We will announce it when Bing Jian receives her reward." The green-robed elder smiled. Although it was not the disciples of their sect who had won the first place this time, the Supreme Headmaster was even happier. The strongest person has been chosen for this competition. Bing Jian, please step onto the Heaven's Pride stage in the center. The two green-robed elders stood up and their voices covered the entire venue. Everyone who was discussing immediately quieted down and looked at Ling Jian. Everyone's gaze was focused on Ling Jian's. Wang Xian and sect leader Ling looked at Ling Jian who was dressed in golden clothes and holding a golden longsword. Her beauty was stunning and her face was full of smiles. She flew to the prodigy stage and stood there quietly like a noble fairy. She turned her head to look at Wang Xian and revealed a faint smile. Bing Jian has won the young prodigy competition of our sect. She has become the first woman to win the competition ever since the establishment of our sect. The Supreme Headmaster has personally conferred Bing Jian the title of unparalleled in the world, the only daughter of our sect, the most favored daughter of the heavens, Bing Jian. The green-robed elder looked at Ling Jian on the prodigy stage and announced, "What? The Supreme Headmaster has personally conferred Bing Jian, unparalleled in the world, the only daughter of our sect." I didn't expect that the Supreme Headmaster would actually pay attention to this battle and personally confer the title. Oh my God! When the surrounding people heard the green-robed elder's words, their faces were filled with shock. Everyone looked at Ling Jian with envy. When Ling Jian heard the words of the Supreme Elder, she was also slightly stunned, and a faint smile appeared on her face. In addition, the Supreme Headmaster will personally meet Bing Jian and give her an even more generous reward. The green-robed elder continued. Their words once again filled the surrounding people with envy. "Thank you, Supreme Headmaster, for your love." Ling Jian held her sword and bowed. "Ha, congratulations, Sister Jian." At this moment, a loud laughter came from Aotion's mouth. His figure moved and flew towards the position beside Ling Jian. Ling Jian was stunned when she saw Aotion flying towards her. She nodded her head politely. Aotion did not mind her coldness and the corner of his mouth curled up. He stood beside Ling Jian and looked towards the people from the Iceheart Empire. Ling Jian frowned and looked at him curiously. She did not understand why he was standing beside her. Everyone around also looked at young Lord Aotion in surprise. "Jian, father said that once the competition is over, he will give you a big surprise." The king of Bingshin Kingdom looked at Ling Jian and said with a smile, "After my discussion with the old ancestor, I will betroth you to young Lord Aotion. The king of Bingxin Kingdom shouted the last 4 words. His voice resounded in everyone's mind. It also shook everyone around, and they all widened their eyes slightly. Marriage, parents' orders, matchmaker's words. Master, I'll find you the most outstanding youth in the vast region. The long-haired elder from Bingxin dynasty continued with a smile on his face. What? However, Ling Jian'er's expression changed drastically when she immediately reacted. What's going on? The Icy Heart Empire actually betrothed Bing Jian'er to young Master Aotion. Oh my god, Bing Jian'er is going to marry young Master Aotion. Judging from young Master Aotion's appearance, he already knows. Isn't Bing Jian'er very close to Priest Wang? What's going on? This Bing Jian'er is actually going to marry young Master Aotion. She has soared to the sky. In the future, she might become the most powerful woman in the vast region. Very soon, everyone around was also roaring in a low voice with faces full of shock. They had never expected that at this moment, the Bing Xen Empire would actually betroth Ling Jian'er to the young master of Aotion. Some people were shocked. Wasn't Ling Jian'er and Priest Wang a couple? There were also people with faces full of envy. Ling Jian'er had soared into the sky in one go. However, Wang Xian, who was standing on the spectator stand, instantly shot out a terrifying killing intent from his eyes. Dragons have reverse scales. Chapter 1581. 1581 Dragon 1581 has a reverse scale for. Dragon has a reverse scale. Anyone who touches it will die. Wang Xian stood there with killing intent surging in his eyes. His gaze was fixed on everyone in the Bingxin Empire. Violence was brewing in his eyes. Everyone around was discussing in shock. No one expected that Ling Jian'er, who had obtained the title of the supreme leader, would be betrothed to the young master of Aotion by the Bingxin Empire. When Ling Jian'er heard her master and the Bingxin king's words, her face was also filled with shock and astonishment. Sister Jian, you are the most outstanding woman I have ever seen. Marry me, and I will let you enjoy the blessings of the heavens. I will let you become the most dazzling woman in the vast region. At this moment, Aotion was looking at Ling Jian'er with a face full of smiles and confidence. As he spoke, he slowly spread his arms and gave off a domineering aura. In the future, you will be the female owner of this sky. Hiss. The surrounding 100,000 people sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard young Master Aotion's declaration. Almost all the girls looked at Ling Jian'er with envy. However, Ling Jian'er's expression was getting uglier and uglier. She glanced at Aotion and her gaze landed on the people from the Icy Heart Empire. I don't agree. I will make my own decisions. Her cold voice sounded. What? This? When Ling Jian'er's voice sounded, everyone from the Icy Heart Empire had a huge change in expression. The people around them were also stunned and their eyes were shining with a strange light. Aotion, who was standing at the side, was slightly stunned. The arrogant expression on his face instantly froze. He turned to Ling Jian'er and glared at her with a pair of angry eyes. Jian'er, don't mess around. Marriage is a major event. It is the order of your parents. Furthermore, foster father and master are doing this for your own good. When the king of Bingxin heard Ling Jian'er's words, his expression changed slightly as he spoke in a domineering manner. Bing Qiankuan, Bing Fao, is this your decision? Wang Xian stared at the king of Bingxin and the white-haired old man. He called them by their names and questioned them in a cold tone. When the king of Bingxin and the white-haired old man heard Wang Xian's cold words, they frowned slightly and their expressions changed slightly. When everyone around saw this situation, their faces were filled with astonishment as they looked around. No one had expected such a situation to happen. Priest Wang Jian'er's marriage was decided after careful consideration by us. Let's give her a better life. My Bingxin Empire and my Bing Qiankuan have many daughters. They are all as beautiful as flowers. You can choose any one of them. Furthermore, as long as Priest Wang likes any of the beauties in the entire Bingxin Empire, I will make the decision for you. The king of Bingxin squeezed out a smile and said to Wang Xian, almost everyone knows that I, Wang Xian, came to the vast area from the flowing sea region to look for Jian. You guys are forcing me now. Wang Xian laughed out loud. His voice was filled with coldness. He sighed slowly at the last sentence. I already have someone in my heart. Ling Jian stood on the Heaven's Pride stage and shifted her gaze away from Wang Xian. She looked at the king of Bingxin and said calmly, the Bingxin Empire. Ling Jian's words and Wang Xian's words caused the two supreme elders of the Solitaire sect to turn gloomy instantly. They looked at Ao Tian, who was standing there with endless fury in his eyes. Their eyes were also filled with coldness and anger. The Bingxin Empire had said that they would betroth Bing Jian to the son of their supreme leader. But now they didn't agree. This was a slap to the face of the only sect. This was a violation of the dignity of the only sect. Supreme elders, leave this matter to the Ice Heart dynasty. The white-haired elder Bing F didn't feel the anger of the supreme elder of the only sect. His face changed greatly and he quickly said, Ao Tian on the prodigy stage slowly raised his head and stood there expressionlessly looking down at everything. Jian, we have already made the decision on this matter. We are doing this for your own good. The matter is settled. In the future, you will marry into the only sect and become the wife of young master Ao Tian. Cherish this opportunity. Bing Fa Wu's expression also turned cold as he ordered Ling Jian. As for Priest Wang, this matter is the matter of our Bingxin dynasty. It is not something you can participate in. But don't worry, our Bingxin Empire will give you sufficient compensation. Bing Fa Wu said as he looked at the long-haired elder beside him. This is how the matter is decided. No one can change it. The long-haired elder announced with a gloomy face. Old geezer, how can the matter of Jian be decided by you two? As soon as the two of them finished speaking, Wang Xian's somewhat savage voice sounded. Bastard! When Bing Fa Wu and the long-haired elder heard Wang Xian's words, their faces instantly turned furious. Priest Wang, if it weren't for the fact that you healed me, I would have been able to kill you if you had said those words. Bing Fa Wu growled at him with a face full of anger. Old man, do you know that I was the one who helped you expel the dark soul in your body? How could the Bingxin Empire do such an ungrateful thing? Wang Xian raised his head and stared at Bing Fa Wu. Bing Fa Wu's face turned red when he heard his words. Shut up. This is a matter of our Bingxin Empire. You are just a priest. You don't have the right to interfere in our matters. Don't think that you are the #1 priest and you dare to be so arrogant to our Bingxin Empire. Let me tell you, Jian is lucky to be able to marry young master Ao Tian. Compared to young master Ao Tian, you are like a firefly competing with the bright moon. At this moment, Bing Jinghuan, who was standing at the side, had a ferocious look on his face. He was gloating as he shouted at Wang Xian. While Bing Jinghuan was shouting, the people from the Bingxin Empire did not stop him. When Wang Xian heard his words, a smile appeared on his face instead. He had already made a decision in his heart. I don't agree. On the Heaven's Pride stage, Ling Jian said with a determined gaze. She looked at Wang Xian and moved. However, just as Ling Jian was about to fly towards Wang Xian, young master Ao Tian took out a round ball from his hand. The round ball enveloped the Heaven's Pride stage. Ling Jian's expression changed. There was no fluctuation at all when she crashed into the formation. Ao Tian, release Jian. Wang Xian saw it and the terrifying killing intent that he was suppressing erupted. He shouted loudly. There is nothing that I, Ao Tian, cannot get. He looked down at Wang Xian with a domineering expression. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he looked at Ling Jian who was at the side. Such an outstanding lady is only worthy of me, Eotion. No one else is worthy of her. As he spoke, he turned his gaze to everyone in the Bingxin Empire. Bingxin Empire, I hope that all of you can settle this successfully. I don't want to fight. He stood there arrogantly and said faintly, "Don't worry, young Master Aotion." The king of Bingxin immediately cupped his hands and said firmly, Chapter 1582. 1582 1,582 dead bodies, 1,000 miles of blood. Now, my Bingxin dynasty announces. Princess Bingjian, marry young Master Aotion. Your parents' orders, matchmaker's words. If anyone dares to interfere, my Bingxin dynasty will definitely punish them severely. The king of Bingxin cupped his hands at young Master Aotion. His cold gaze swept across Wang Xian as he gritted his teeth and said coldly. He made the final announcement. What matchmaker's words? I am Jian Er's father. What right does your Bingxin Empire have to be called Jian Er's parents? Jian Er has lost her memory. How long has she been in your Bingxin Empire? Now that Jian Er doesn't agree, what right do you have to force her? When Sect Master Ling, who was standing beside Wang Xian, heard King Bing Xian's words, he revealed an angry expression and roared loudly. Let me out. I won't marry him. Let me out. At the Heaven's Pride stage, Ling Jian brandished the metal longsword in her hand and thrust it heavily towards the formation. However, the sturdy formation did not have the slightest ripple. This is really unexpected. Now, the Bingxin Empire is embarrassed. According to what I said, Bing Jian is not the daughter of the king of Bingxin. Instead, she was brought here by the patriarch of the Bingxin Empire not long ago. Bing Jian is obviously loyal to Priest Wang. However, that Priest Wang is going to be in trouble. The woman that young Master Aotion wants, he doesn't have the qualifications at all. Everyone around looked on, pursed their lips, and whispered. The Bingxin Empire is ungrateful. Today I, Wang Xian, announce, if Jian doesn't leave with me today, I will definitely make your Bingxin Empire bleed for thousands of miles. Wang Xian swept his gaze across Ling Jian and stared at everyone in the Bingxin Empire. His face was filled with killing intent as he announced the same thing. Pastor Wang, I will give you face and address you as Pastor Wang. If I don't give you face, you are nothing in the eyes of our Bingxin Empire. Make my Bingxin Empire bleed for thousands of miles. Do you have the ability to do so? The long-haired elder from the Bingxin Empire laughed maniacally. A powerful aura that belonged to the 8th level of the see-through realm was emitted from his body as he stared at Wang Xian coldly. The rest of the people from the Bingxin Empire were also staring at Wang Xian with sparkling eyes. This is really interesting. This is really interesting. A radiant priest, a mere radiant priest, actually dares to challenge the Bingxin Empire. You are really arrogant and conceited. Do you dare to challenge the solipsistic sect? Don't think that just because you saved the crown prince of Wuji Empire, you can act recklessly in the vast region. Bingxin Empire don't have any scruples. All the consequences will be borne by the solipsistic sect. Aotion laughed maniacally when he heard Wang Xian's words. His laughter was filled with disdain. In the end, he promised the Bingxin Empire. Don't be afraid of the Wuji Empire. Their only sect is here. I want to see how you can make our Bingxin Empire bleed for thousands of miles. The long-haired elder flew a few hundred meters forward and looked down at Wang Xian from the sky. Around them, Bing Fa Wu, the king Bing Chenkuan, and the experts from the Bingxin Empire immediately flew into the sky and looked down as well. Aotion, you want me to marry you? Dream on. Ling Jianyar's cold voice sounded from within the array formation on the prodigy stage. H, you'll be mine for the rest of your life. Not long from now, our wedding will be held under the watchful eyes of the world. Now, I'll bring you back to the only sect to take a look. Let's go. It's not good to watch that fellow die here. Ao Tian saw that everyone was looking in his direction. His expression was not good as he waved his arm. A hexagram pattern appeared in the sky above the Heaven's Pride stage. Both of their figures disappeared instantly. Only sect, you are seeking your own destruction. Wang Xian saw Ling Jian who had disappeared into the formation. His eyes slowly turned black. A violent aura was gathering on his body. A mere priest. Get rid of him as soon as possible. It's a waste of time. A supreme elder of Soli sect said indifferently. He gestured to the supreme elder beside him and leaped into the sky. He left directly through the long-distance teleportation of the hexagram. Remember, a radiant priest. Don't be so arrogant. Otherwise, you will die. The long-haired elder from the Iceheart Empire stared at Wang Xian and said indifferently, "Kill him." As the two of them spoke, they ordered the two people beside them. It's the old ancestor. The two powerhouses at level 7 of the see-through realm nodded and walked out slowly. That priest Wang is going to die. Who would have thought that the Saint of Light would end up like this? He's too arrogant. He dares to provoke anyone. This time, I'm afraid he's going to die. When everyone saw the enraged Bingxin Empire was about to make a move, their eyes sparkled as they discussed among themselves. When Wang Xian saw the two 7th-level profound void martial stage powerhouses from Bingxin Empire flying out, he narrowed his eyes slightly. That kind of violent killing intent caused his eyes to slowly turn pitch black. You will only have face if our Bingxin Empire gives you face. If we don't give you face, you are nothing. The two experts at level 7 of the see-through void tier stared at Wang Xian and said with disdain. Behind him, Bing Jinghuan was watching this scene with excitement. Cough, 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 I'm finally here. I'm finally here. Priest Wang, save me. Cough, cough, I'll help you. I'll help you kill them. I'll help you bleed thousands of miles and kill everyone. At this moment, a hunchbacked old man walked towards Wang Xian with his walking stick. He swept his gaze across the surroundings and looked at Wang Xian. He forced a smile on his face and said to Wang Xian in a fawning manner. The two powerhouses at level 7 of the see-through realm who were about to make a move were slightly stunned. They looked at the old man. Who is that old man? A cripple? That old man seems to be a cripple. Is there something wrong with his brain? What is he doing here? The old man who appeared out of nowhere and was even talking arrogantly made everyone around him slightly stunned. You old fool who is courting death. Let's die together with you, Priest Wang. The two level 7 insightful void martial artists from the Bingxin Empire revealed a hint of cold disdain on their faces. The staffs and long swords in their hands shot out a violent stream of water and a bone-piercing ice sword. In an instant, they attacked Wang Xian and the hunchbacked old man. But Wang Xian looked at the two attacks without any emotion in his eyes. He slowly raised his arm. A wave of light energy blocked the attack directly. He turned his head slowly and looked at the hunchbacked old man who was begging to please him. I'll give you a chance to atone for your sins. Wang Xian's dark-haired eyes were filled with violence. He placed his other palm on the old man's chest. But a terrifying demonic aura entered the old man's body. The soul of darkness that he released instantly trembled. I want to destroy the Bingxin Empire. His cold voice was heard by the stooped old man. Chapter 1583. 1583 1,583 corpses, 2,000 miles of blood. This is darkness, darkness, this. The hunchbacked old man sensed the dark energy in Wang Xian's body. His turbid eyes were wide open, filled with shock and disbelief. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and stared blankly at Wang Xian's left hand. The dense light energy was resisting the attacks of the two 7th-level see-through void martial artists. On his right hand, rolling dark energy entered his body. Agree, live, disagree, die. Wang Xian looked at the hunchbacked old man who was trembling at the corner of his mouth. His eyes were completely pitch black. Kiki, I like killing people. I will kill whoever you want. The hunchbacked old man felt the energy in his body recover. His face revealed an excited and twisted maniacal laughter as he roared loudly. To be honest, Pastor Wang, I like your personality. Kiki. The hunchbacked old man laughed loudly and his figure instantly disappeared from Wang Xian's body. A black shadow attacked the two insightful Void Tier 7 powerhouses of the Bingxin Empire at a terrifying speed. The insightful Void Tier 7 powerhouse, who was surprised that Wang Xian had blocked the two of them in an instant, suddenly felt a sharp pain in his body. Kiki, Priest Wang said that he wants to destroy your Bingxin Empire. Then he will destroy you. There will be millions of corpses and blood will flow for thousands of miles. Kiki. A horrifying voice suddenly resounded in the sky above the venue. Hiss. At the same time, the sound of tearing was heard. Under everyone's shocked gaze, the bodies of the two Level 7 insightful void martial artists were directly torn apart by force. Blood, flesh, and internal organs flew everywhere. The blood fog slowly revealed the face of an extremely savage, skinny elder. The dark energy around the elder surged and condensed, as if it was about to explode at any moment. The smell of blood. The elder excitedly licked the blood at the corner of his mouth and shouted in a low voice. What? A rank 8 void interpretation expert. That hunchbacked elder is actually a rank 8 void interpretation expert. He instantly killed two rank 7 void interpretation experts from the Bingxin Empire. Heavens, what's going on? That hunchbacked old man is here to seek treatment from Priest Wang, and his condition is to annihilate the Bingxin dynasty? The surrounding people looked at the savage-looking old man with shock on their faces. Rank 8 void interpretation expert. When the Bingxin dynasty saw the two rank 7 experts instantly killed, their expressions instantly became extremely unsightly. Damn it, you old thing, you want to make an enemy out of our Bingxin dynasty. Seeing the sudden change, the elder with long hair and ice Fa Wu roared with an ugly expression. Kiki, who asked you to offend Priest Wang, and only he can expel the dark soul in my body. I heard that you were also cured by Priest Wang. Say, don't you know that in my life, the people I want the most are those who are ungrateful? The stooped old man lifted his head slightly as if he was enjoying himself. Streams of demonic aura surged violently in his body. This feeling made him feel extremely good. Priest Wang, it seems like we have really underestimated you. However, do you really think that you can destroy our Bingxin Empire just by relying on a person at level 8 of the Void Interpretation stage? Today, even if there is a powerhouse at level 8 of the Void Interpretation stage helping you, you will still die. The long-haired elder stared at Wang Xian and growled in a low voice with an embarrassed expression. A huge lotus staff appeared in his hand. Water was flowing on the lotus. Bing Fa Wu, who was at the side, had a solemn expression on his face. He was holding a long sword in his hand. Around him, the supreme elder of the solitaire sect looked at the hunchbacked elder and frowned slightly. Go to the sky and fight. Don't destroy the solitaire sect's territory. He warned the Bingxin Empire and the hunchbacked old man arrogantly. Tisk tisk. The hunchbacked old man smiled sinisterly and looked at the supreme elder of the sect. From now on, don't call me Pastor Wang. Wang Xian glanced at the supreme elder of the sect and stared at everyone in the Bingxin Empire with his pitch-black pupils. Now, without Pastor Wang, I prefer others to call me. As he spoke, he slowly opened his arms and wisps of black gas seeped out from his body. The change in Wang Xian's body immediately attracted everyone's attention. Everyone was astonished when they saw wisps of black gas seeping out from a powerful pastor of light. God! Demon! A roar came out from Wang Xian's mouth and the light aura on his body was swept away. What replaced it was endless darkness. The thick darkness directly shot up from Wang Xian's body. A violent, and terrifying aura swarmed around Wang Xian. Today, I, Wang Xian, will not destroy the Ice Heart Empire and the Sky Demon. A wild roar came out from his mouth. The voice spread across thousands of miles. Everyone in the ruins of the Divine Kingdom could hear it clearly. In an instant, the entire ruins of the Divine Kingdom was silent for 2 seconds. Everyone looked towards the direction of the lone sect. Their eyes were wide open and filled with shock. This roar was simply too terrifying. Wasn't Wang Xian the name of Priest Wang? Eternal Bingxin Empire, no Sky Demon. This meant that Eternal Ice Heart Empire could not fully embody the name of Sky Demon. Priest Wang? Sky Demon. These two names were now like thunder in the ruins of the Divine Kingdom. One was the Saint of Light, and the other was the #1 devil in the world, Sky Demon. What was the relationship between the Saint of Light and Sky Demon? In the He clan, everyone in the He clan had a huge change in expression when they heard this howl. All the experts of the He clan looked at each other before flying towards the direction of the howl. In Wuji Empire, Wuqing City and the other experts were slightly shocked when they heard the roar. They immediately flew towards the direction of Solitaire Sect. Boom! What's going on? Oh my god, Priest Wang! How can Priest Wang be a Sky Demon? I can't believe it! The Saint of Light is actually a Sky Demon. FUCK, tell me this isn't real. The pinnacle of a radiant priest, the #1 devil in the vast region. How could they be the same person? All of these, the people around the Hall of Supreme Self were all in shock. They couldn't believe it as they looked at Wang Xian, who had a demonic aura that shook the sky. Their eyes were wide open. Who could believe that the Saint of Light, the priest who saved the world with the hanging urn and had a benevolent heart, was actually able to wipe out 1 million people in the ancient demon city? The moment he appeared, he wiped out 25 sky fiends who were at the 7th level of the see-through void tier. This was simply too crazy. Two extremely differentiated identities, one good and one evil. It shocked the world. Cough cough, how is this possible? At this moment, when everyone in the Bingxin Empire saw Wang Xian's violent roar and felt that terrifying aura, their pupils constricted slightly. A hint of fear appeared on their faces. They were not afraid of Pastor Wang because no matter how strong a pastor was, he was not a match for the Bingxin Empire. However, they were afraid of the Sky Demon. A Sky Demon that made all the forces fear him. However, the words Eternal Bingxin Empire and Eternal Sky Demon resounded throughout the world. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.